Dr. Alexandria Alex Chen had built her empire on two principles: precision and distance. At 35, she was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the medical technology industry, having revolutionized cardiac surgical equipment with innovations that saved thousands of lives annually. Her company, Chen Medical Technologies, occupied a gleaming 40-story tower in downtown Seattle. But Alex herself remained an enigma to most who worked there. She was beautiful in a way that seemed almost weaponized: sharp cheekbones, penetrating dark eyes, and black hair that she kept in a severe bun during business hours. She wore exclusively tailored suits, in shades of gray and black, each one costing more than most people's monthly rent. Everything about her aesthetic screamed untouchable, and that was exactly how she wanted it. "Dr. Chen, you have 3 partnership proposals waiting for your review," her assistant Marcus said, hovering nervously in the doorway of her corner office. "Also, Dr. Reeves from Stanford called again about the collaborative research project." Alex didn't look up from her computer screen, where she was analyzing quarterly projections. "Reject the partnerships. Tell Reeves I'll consider it when they have actual data worth my time." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. He'd worked for Alex for 2 years and still felt like he barely knew her. "There's also Ms. Hartley from the charity gala committee called. She wanted to confirm you'll be attending next month and asked if you'd be bringing a +1." Now Alex did look up, one perfectly sculpted eyebrow raised. "Why would I bring a Well, I think she was hoping you might consider it for appearances." Alex's laugh was cold and sharp. "Tell Ms. Hartley that my appearance at her gala, along with my $50,000 donation, should be sufficient. I don't perform relationship theater for anyone's comfort." After Marcus retreated, Alex returned to her work, but her mind wandered despite herself. Relationships, the very concept felt like a foreign language she'd never bothered to learn. In college and medical school, she'd been too focused on graduating top of her class. During her surgical residency at Johns Hopkins, she'd worked 100-hour weeks, sleeping in on-call rooms and surviving on vending machine coffee. When she'd left medicine to found her company, she'd poured every ounce of energy into building something that mattered. There had been women, of course. Alex had known she was gay since she was 15, had come out to her traditional Chinese parents at 18, resulting in a 2-year estrangement she still preferred not to think about, and had navigated her sexuality with the same clinical efficiency she applied to everything else. But romance, love, those were distractions she couldn't afford. Women pursued her constantly, at business conferences, at hospital fundraisers, even in the elevator of her own building. They were drawn to her success, her appearance, her untouchability. Alex rejected them all with the same polite but firm distance. She'd never dated anyone for longer than 3 months, and most relationships ended after a handful of encounters when the other woman realized Alex would never prioritize them over her work. "I don't do relationships," she'd say. "I'm not wired for them. If you're looking for someone who'll remember your birthday or meet your parents, I'm not that person." Most women thought she was joking. By the second missed date or the 5th time Alex canceled dinner plans for a board meeting, they learned otherwise. Her mother still called every Sunday, the conversation always the same. "Alexandria, you're 35 years old. Don't you want someone to share your life with? Success means nothing if you're alone." Alex would respond with variations on the same theme. She wasn't alone. She had her work. She was perfectly content. Her mother would sigh dramatically and change the subject to Alex's younger brother's family. The grandchildren Alex would never provide. As the Seattle skyline darkened outside her floor-to-ceiling windows, Alex finished reviewing the quarterly reports and began preparing for her monthly inspection of the production facility. Chen Medical Technologies manufactured everything in-house, from the smallest surgical instruments to complex robotic surgery systems. Alex insisted on personally reviewing every aspect of production, at least once a month, a practice her board of directors found excessive, but didn't dare question. She was gathering her things when her phone buzzed with an emergency alert. Her heart rate spiked. The only real emergency that could come through this line would be a product failure. And in the medical device industry, failures meant deaths. Alex answered immediately. "Chen, Dr. Chen. This is Robert from Quality Control. We've had an incident at St. Mary's Hospital in Portland. One of our cardiac pumps failed during surgery. The patient survived, but barely. The surgical team is requesting immediate investigation." Alex's mind was already racing through protocols, liability issues, and most importantly, What could have gone wrong? Her devices didn't fail. They couldn't fail. She'd designed every safety redundancy herself. I want the full surgical report, all device telemetry, and the names of everyone on that surgical team. And get my plane ready. I'm going to Portland tonight. Tonight, Dr. Chen, it's already 8 p.m. Did I stutter? Robert, 30 minutes later, Alex was in her private car, heading to Boeing Field, where her company jet waited. She'd changed into more casual clothes, dark jeans and a black cashmere sweater, but her mind was entirely focused on the problem at hand. A device failure. The words kept echoing in her head. Impossible. Her devices didn't fail, but one had. The flight to Portland was turbulent. Matching Alex's mood, she spent the entire journey reviewing technical specifications and surgical data on her tablet, searching for any explanation for what had gone wrong. Her devices had been used in over 50,000 surgeries in the past 5 years. The failure rate was effectively zero. This shouldn't be possible. When the plane touched down at Portland International just before midnight, a car was already waiting. Alex gave the driver the hospital address and continued working during the 30-minute drive through Rainslick Streets. St. Mary's Hospital loomed against the night sky, a sprawling complex of modern buildings interspersed with older brick structures. Alex didn't bother checking into a hotel. She went straight to the security desk, flashed her credentials, and demanded to see whoever was in charge. 20 minutes later, she was in a conference room with the hospital administrator, a nervous man named Gordon Matthews, and the chief of cardiac surgery, Dr. Patricia Okonkwo. Dr. Chen, thank you for coming so quickly, Gordon began, but Alex cut him off. I need to see the device now, and I need the complete surgical team assembled first thing in the morning. Dr. Okonkwo, a tall woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, studied Alex with interest. The device has been preserved exactly as it was at the end of surgery, per your company's protocols. But Dr. Chen, perhaps you should know. Know what? The lead surgeon on that case saved that patient's life. When your pump failed, Dr. Hayes manually maintained circulation for 47 minutes while the team located backup equipment. It was extraordinary work. I've been doing cardiac surgery for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Alex felt a flicker of something gratitude, respect, but pushed it aside. I'm sure Dr. Hayes is very competent. I still need to understand why my device failed. Of course, Dr. Hayes left instructions that you should call her directly when you arrived, regardless of the hour. She wanted to brief you personally. Dr. Okonkwo slid a business card across the table. Alex pocketed the card. First, I want to see the device. Then, I'll decide what conversations I need to have. They led her to a sterile examination room where the failed cardiac pump sat in a sealed container. Alex spent the next 3 hours examining every component, taking measurements, and photographing everything from multiple angles. The pump showed clear signs of a seal failure in the housing unit, but Alex couldn't determine if it was a manufacturing defect or damage that occurred during the surgery itself. At 4 a.m, she finally admitted she needed more information. She pulled out Dr. Hayes's business card and stared at it. The sensible thing would be to wait until a reasonable hour, but Alex had never been accused of being sensible when it came to her work. She dialed the number. It rang 4 times. Alex was about to hang up when a voice answered, husky with sleep. Hayes, Dr. Hayes, this is Alexandria Chen from Chen Medical Technologies. I apologize for the hour, but I need to discuss the device failure that occurred during your surgery. There was a pause, then the sound of movement. Dr. Chen, I'm impressed. I didn't expect you to arrive until tomorrow. Or, I suppose, it is tomorrow now. The voice became more alert. Give me 20 minutes to get to the hospital. That's not necessary. We can meet at a reasonable hour, Dr. Chen. I've been waiting for your call since that surgery ended. I'm not going to waste time on polite protocol. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Alex found herself staring at her phone, feeling oddly off balance. People didn't hang up on her. People certainly didn't tell her they'd meet her at 4 a.m, and sound almost excited about it. She used the 20 minutes to review her photographs and notes, trying to prepare her list of questions. She was gathering her things when her phone buzzed with an emergency alert. Her heart rate spiked. The only real emergency that could come through this line would be a product failure. And in the medical device industry, failures meant deaths. Alex answered immediately. Chun, Dr. Chun, this is Robert from Quality Control. We've had an incident at St. Mary's Hospital in Portland. One of our cardiac pumps failed during surgery. The patient survived, but barely. The surgical team is requesting immediate investigation. Alex's mind was already racing through protocols, liability issues, and most importantly, what could have gone wrong. Her devices didn't fail. They couldn't fail. She'd designed every safety redundancy herself. I want the full surgical report, all device telemetry, and the names of everyone on that surgical team. And get my plane ready. I'm going to Portland tonight. Tonight, Dr. Chen, it's already 8 p.m. Did I stutter, Robert? 30 minutes later, Alex was in her private car heading to Boeing Field, where her company jet waited. She'd changed into more casual clothes, dark jeans, and a black cashmere sweater, but her mind was entirely focused on the problem at hand. A device failure. The words kept echoing in her head. Impossible. Her devices didn't fail, but one had. The flight to Portland was turbulent, matching Alex's mood. She spent the entire journey reviewing technical specifications and surgical data on her tablet, searching for any explanation for what had gone wrong. Her devices had been used in over 50,000 surgeries in the past 5 years. The failure rate was effectively zero. This shouldn't be possible. When the plane touched down at Portland International just before midnight, a car was already waiting. Alex gave the driver the hospital address and continued working during the 30-minute drive-through. Rain-slick streets. St. Mary's Hospital loomed against the night sky, a sprawling complex of modern buildings interspersed with older brick structures. Alex didn't bother checking into a hotel. She went straight to the security desk, flashed her credentials, and demanded to see whoever was in charge. 20 minutes later, she was in a conference room with the hospital administrator, a nervous man named Gordon Matthews, and the chief of cardiac surgery, Dr. Patricia Okonkwo. Dr. Chen, thank you for coming so quickly, Gordon began, but Alex cut him off. I need to see the device now, and I need the complete surgical team assembled first thing in the morning. Dr. Okonkwo, a tall woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, studied Alex with interest. The device has been preserved exactly as it was at the end of surgery, per your company's protocols. But Dr. Chen, perhaps you should know what the lead surgeon on that case saved that patient's life. When your pump failed, Dr. Hayes manually maintained circulation for 47 minutes, while the team located backup equipment. It was extraordinary work. I've been doing cardiac surgery for 30 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Alex felt a flicker of something gratitude, respect, but pushed it aside. I'm sure Dr. Hayes is very competent. I still need to understand why my device failed, of course. Dr. Hayes left instructions that you should call her directly when you arrived, regardless of the hour. She wanted to brief you personally. Dr. Okonkwo slid a business card across the table. Alex pocketed the card. First, I want to see the device. Then I'll decide what conversations I need to have. They led her to a sterile examination room where the failed cardiac pump sat in a sealed container. Alex spent the next 3 hours examining every component, taking measurements, and photographing everything from multiple angles. The pump showed clear signs of a seal failure in the housing unit, but Alex couldn't determine if it was a manufacturing defect or damage that occurred during the surgery itself. At 4 in the morning, she finally admitted she needed more information. She pulled out Dr. Hayes' business card and stared at it. The sensible thing would be to wait until a reasonable hour, but Alex had never been accused of being sensible when it came to her work. She dialed the number. It rang 4 times. Alex was about to hang up when a voice answered, husky, with sleep. Hayes, Dr. Hayes, this is Alexandria Chen from Chen Medical Technologies. I apologize for the hour, but I need to discuss the device failure that occurred during your surgery. There was a pause, then the sound of movement. Dr. Chen, I'm impressed. Didn't expect you to arrive until tomorrow, or I suppose it is tomorrow now. The voice became more alert. Give me 20 minutes to get to the hospital. That's not necessary. We can meet at a reasonable hour, Dr. Chen. I've been waiting for your call since that surgery ended. I'm not going to waste time on polite protocol. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Alex found herself staring at her phone, feeling oddly off balance. People didn't hang up on her. People certainly didn't tell her they'd meet her at 4 in the morning, and sound almost excited about it. She used the 20 minutes to review her photographs and notes, trying to prepare her list of questions, but part of her attention was caught by curiosity about this surgeon who'd saved her patient and apparently didn't care about sleep schedules. At exactly 4:20 a.m., there was a knock on the examination room door. Alex opened it and found herself face to face with Dr. Jordan Hayes. Alex had expected someone older, severe, probably exhausted from being woken in the middle of the night. What she got was a woman about her own age, tall and athletic, with shoulder-length auburn hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore jeans, a faded medical school sweatshirt, and no makeup. Her hazel eyes were bright and alert despite the hour, and when she smiled, it was genuine and warm. "Dr. Chen, it's good to finally meet you, even if the circumstances aren't ideal." Jordan extended her hand. Alex shook it, noting the firm grip and the calluses that spoke to years of surgical work. "Dr. Hayes, thank you for coming so quickly. Call me Jordan, and please, come to my office. We'll be more comfortable there, and I have coffee that's significantly better than the hospital swill." Alex followed Jordan through the quiet hospital corridors, noticing how the other woman moved with easy confidence through the space, nodding at night shift nurses and checking a patient board as they passed. Jordan's office was small but well organized, with medical journals stacked neatly on shelves and a comfortable-looking couch in addition to the standard desk and chairs. True to her word, Jordan had a high-end espresso machine on a side table. "Espresso, Americano latte?" Jordan asked, already heating the machine. "Americano, black, a woman after my own heart." Jordan made 2 Americanos with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this thousands of times, then handed one to Alex and settled into the chair across from her. "So, you want to know what happened during that surgery? I need to understand every detail. The device telemetry shows a catastrophic seal failure, but I can't determine the root cause from the physical evidence alone." Jordan nodded and pulled a thick file from her desk drawer. "I anticipated that. Here's the complete surgical record, my personal notes, and statements from every member of the surgical team. The patient's name is Michael Torres, 43 years old, high school history teacher, father of 2. He presented with severe coronary artery disease requiring triple bypass surgery." As Jordan walked through the surgery step by step, Alex found herself captivated, not just by the technical details, but by the way Jordan spoke about her patient. This wasn't just a case to her, it was a person. She mentioned Michael's daughter getting a college scholarship, his wife's worry, his own fear before the surgery. Jordan had clearly taken time to know her patient as a human being, not just a set of symptoms. "We were 90 minutes into the procedure when your pump failed," Jordan continued, her voice becoming more serious. "One moment it was functioning perfectly, the next, the pressure readings dropped precipitously. My perfusionist called it immediately, and you manually maintained circulation for 47 minutes. Yes, my team was scrambling to get backup equipment from another surgical suite, but hospital logistics being what they are, it took time, so I did what I had to do." Jordan's eyes met Alex's directly. "I wasn't going to let Michael Torres die because of an equipment failure." There was no accusation in her voice, just simple statement of fact, but Alex felt the weight of it anyway. This woman had saved a life that Alex's device had endangered. "The pump should never have failed," Alex said quietly. "My company's entire reputation is built on reliability. Lives depend on that reliability." "I know, which is why I'm not angry, Dr. Chen. I'm concerned. Your equipment is the gold standard in cardiac surgery. If there's a flaw in the design or manufacturing, it needs to be identified and corrected. But I also know that you're here at 4 in the morning, which tells me you take this as seriously as I do." Alex studied Jordan's face, looking for judgment or blame, but found only genuine concern and a hint of curiosity. "You said you've been waiting for my call. Why?" Jordan smiled. "Because I've been following your work for years. The innovations you've pioneered have transformed cardiac surgery. The precision valve replacement system you developed, I've used it in dozens of surgeries. Your robotic surgical assistant, it's allowed us to perform procedures that would have been impossible 10 years ago. You're brilliant, Dr. Chen. I wanted to meet the person behind all that innovation." Alex felt heat rise in her cheeks, something that hadn't happened in years. She wasn't used to such direct praise, especially not from someone whose respect she found herself unexpectedly valuing. "I'm just an engineer who happened to have medical training. You're significantly more than that, and you know it." Jordan leaned forward. "Dr. Chen, Alex, if I may, I know you're here to investigate a failure, and I'll give you every bit of cooperation I can. But I also want you to know that one device failure doesn't change my opinion of your work or your company. Michael Torres is alive and recovering well. That's what matters." "That's what matters to you," Alex said. "To me, what matters is understanding why my device failed and ensuring it never happens again." "Then let's figure it out together." Jordan stood and grabbed a white coat from a hook on the wall. The surgical suite where it happened is free right now. Want to walk through it with me? Sometimes seeing the actual space helps. Alex nodded and followed Jordan out of the office, but her mind was only partly on the investigation. The other part was trying to understand why this surgeon, this woman who made espresso at 4 a.m. and spoke about her patients with genuine care, was affecting her this way. They spent the next 2 hours in the surgical suite, with Jordan recreating the procedure step by step. She showed Alex exactly where the pump had been positioned, how the connections had been made, what the telemetry had looked like before the failure. She was precise and professional, but there was also a storyteller's gift to her description. Alex could visualize every moment. "And this is when I knew we were in trouble," Jordan said. Standing at the operating table with her hands positioned as if still in surgery, the pressure dropped from 95/60 to barely detectable in under 30 seconds. "I've seen pump failures before. They're usually gradual, giving you time to respond. This was catastrophic and immediate." Alex examined the connection points, taking more photographs, which suggests a complete seal rupture rather than gradual wear. But that shouldn't be possible with the materials we use. The seals are rated for 12 hours of continuous operation, with a safety margin of 300%, unless there was a manufacturing defect. That's what I need to determine. I'll need to examine every component under an electron microscope, review the manufacturing records for this specific unit, and potentially test other units from the same production batch. Jordan nodded. "Whatever you need, but Alex, you look exhausted. When was the last time you slept?" Alex tried to remember. She'd worked late in Seattle the previous evening, then flown to Portland, then been examining the device for hours. "Yesterday morning, I think, maybe 30 hours ago." "That's not sustainable. You're not going to solve this if you're too tired to think straight." Jordan glanced at her watch. "It's almost 7 a.m. My shift doesn't start until 9. Let me buy you breakfast. Real breakfast, not hospital cafeteria food. Then you can get a hotel room and sleep for a few hours before you dive back into the investigation." "I don't have time, Alex." Jordan's voice was gentle but firm. "You're running on adrenaline and coffee. That might work for a few more hours, but then you'll crash, and you'll make mistakes. You don't strike me as someone who makes mistakes often, so don't start now." Alex wanted to argue. She should argue, but Jordan was right. And more than that, Alex realized she wanted to have breakfast with this woman, wanted to keep talking to her in a setting that wasn't about device failures and investigations. "Fine," Alex said, "but somewhere quick. I need to be back here by 9 to start the systematic testing." Jordan's smile was radiant. "I know just the place." Part 2. The opening the diner Jordan chose was a classic Portland establishment, mismatched furniture, local art on the walls, and the smell of fresh coffee and cooking bacon. They slid into a corner booth, and Jordan ordered for both of them without asking, somehow intuiting that Alex would appreciate someone else making decisions after the night she'd had. "Mushroom and spinach omelet, whole wheat toast, fresh fruit," Jordan told the waitress, "and keep the coffee coming." When the waitress left, Alex raised an eyebrow. "How did you know what I'd want?" "Educated guess. You're clearly health conscious. I noticed you didn't touch the pastries that were in the conference room. But you're also exhausted and need protein. Plus, you strike me as someone who appreciates efficiency, and ordering for you was more efficient than making you read a menu when you can barely keep your eyes open." Alex found herself smiling despite her fatigue. "You're very observant." Occupational hazard. When you're in surgery, you need to be constantly reading the room, monitoring vitals, watching your team, anticipating problems before they happen. It carries over into regular life. Their coffee arrived, and Alex wrapped her hands around the warm mug gratefully. The diner was starting to fill with the early morning crowd: construction workers, nurses finishing night shifts, students getting breakfast before class. It was so different from the sterile, controlled environments Alex usually inhabited. "Tell me something," Jordan said, studying Alex over the rim of her coffee cup. "Why did you leave surgery? You completed your residency at Johns Hopkins, worked there for 2 years, then left to start your company. That's unusual. Most people who go through surgical training don't give it up." Alex tensed slightly. This was always the question, the one that implied she'd quit, that she hadn't been good enough. "I realized I could help more people by improving surgical tools than by using them. One surgeon can only do so many operations, but a device that makes surgery safer and more effective, that impacts thousands of procedures, that's the logical answer." Jordan said. What's the real answer? Alex met her gaze, ready to deflect with the same polite but distant response she always used. But something about Jordan's hazel eyes, the way they looked at her with genuine curiosity rather than judgment, made her hesitate. I wasn't good enough, Alex admitted quietly. I mean, I was technically competent, but surgery requires more than technical skill. It requires the ability to make split-second decisions under pressure, to improvise when things go wrong, to stay calm when someone's life is literally in your hands. I was always overthinking, always trying to find the perfect solution instead of the good enough one. It made me slow. In surgery, slow gets people killed. Jordan nodded slowly. So you found a way to contribute that played to your strengths instead of your weaknesses. That's not quitting. That's smart. Not everyone sees it that way. Then not everyone understands how important your work is. Jordan leaned forward. Alex, what you do matters. Every surgeon I know trusts Chen medical equipment because it's reliable, innovative, and saves lives. You should be proud of that. Their food arrived, and they ate in companionable silence for a few minutes. Alex couldn't remember the last time she'd had an actual breakfast, let alone one that tasted this good. She was usually too rushed in the mornings, grabbing coffee and maybe a protein bar if she remembered. What about you? Alex asked. Why cardiac surgery? It's one of the most demanding specialties. Jordan's face lit up. When I was 17, my grandfather had a heart attack. Triple bypass surgery, just like Michael Torres. I remember sitting in that waiting room for 6 hours, terrified. And when the surgeon came out and said he was going to be okay, I thought that was the most powerful thing I'd ever heard. This person had cut open my grandfather's chest, stopped his heart, rerouted his blood flow, and put him back together. It was like magic. Science, not magic. Science is magic if you do it right. Jordan grinned. Anyway, my grandfather lived another 12 years. He saw me graduate medical school. And now I get to give other families those 12 years. It's the best job in the world, even when it's exhausting and stressful and occasionally heartbreaking. Alex found herself envying that passion, that clear sense of purpose. She'd built something impressive, yes, but did she love it the way Jordan clearly loved surgery? Or was it just what she was good at? You're thinking too hard, Jordan observed. I can literally see your brain working overtime. Occupational hazard, Alex echoed Jordan's earlier words, making the other woman laugh. They finished breakfast, and Jordan insisted on paying despite Alex's protests. You flew here in the middle of the night to investigate a problem. The least I can do is buy you an omelet. Outside the diner, the Portland morning was cool and slightly damp, typical Pacific Northwest weather. Jordan pulled her car keys from her pocket. Let me drive you to a hotel. There's a nice place 2 blocks from the hospital, clean, quiet, and they have blackout curtains. I can get a car, Alex. Let someone take care of you for once, just for a morning. There was something in Jordan's voice, not pity, but genuine care that made Alex's defenses crumble. She nodded and followed Jordan to a slightly beat-up Subaru that looked like it had seen better days. I know, Jordan said as she unlocked it. I'm a surgeon driving a 15-year-old car, but she runs well, and I'd rather donate my money to medical charities than blow it on a luxury vehicle. I didn't say anything. You were thinking it. I saw the look. Jordan started the car, and a blast of indie rock came through the speakers before she quickly turned it down. Sorry, I like my morning commute loud. The drive to the hotel took less than 5 minutes, but Alex found herself wishing it was longer. There was something comfortable about being in this small space with Jordan, something that made her want to keep talking. At the hotel entrance, Jordan put the car in park but left it running. Get some sleep, real sleep, not just a power nap. The investigation will still be there in 6 hours, and you'll approach it with a clearer head. Alex nodded, but found herself reluctant to leave. Thank you for breakfast, and for being so cooperative with the investigation. Of course. Jordan paused, then seemed to make a decision. Alex, I know you're here on business, and I know you probably have zero interest in mixing business with anything else, but if you have any free time while you're in Portland, I'd enjoy showing you around. The city, I mean. We have excellent coffee and bookstores. Alex should say no. She should maintain professional distance. Focus on the investigation, get back to Seattle as soon as possible. But she heard herself say, I'd like that. Jordan's smile was brilliant. Good, I'll hold you to it. Alex checked into the hotel in a daze, barely registering the pleasant clerk or the clean, modern room. She set an alarm for 6 hours, closed the blackout curtains as Jordan had promised existed, and collapsed onto the bed for the first time in years. As she drifted off to sleep, Alex's last thoughts weren't about work. They were about hazel eyes and a warm smile, and the way Jordan had said, "Let someone take care of you for once." Part 3. The investigation deepens. The alarm woke Alex 6 hours later, and she felt more rested than she had in months. She showered, changed into the spare clothes she always kept in her travel bag, and headed back to St. Mary's Hospital with renewed focus. The next 3 days fell into a pattern. Alex spent long hours in the hospital's testing facility, meticulously examining every component of the failed device. She brought in additional equipment from her Seattle facility, ran materials analysis tests, and reviewed manufacturing records going back 6 months. Jordan stopped by regularly, bringing coffee and food, sometimes staying to watch Alex work. "You're fascinating to watch," Jordan said on the second day, leaning against the door frame, as Alex peered through an electron microscope. "I thought surgery required attention to detail, but you're operating on a completely different level." "I'm just being thorough." "You're being obsessive, but in a good way. In a this matters and I won't accept anything less than perfect understanding kind of way." Alex looked up from the microscope. Jordan was wearing scrubs, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, and there was a tired edge to her eyes that suggested she'd been in a long surgery. "Rough day, 8-hour valve replacement. Complicated case, but the patient pulled through." Jordan moved into the room and sat on one of the lab stools. "Want to hear something strange? During the surgery, I kept thinking about you." Alex's heart did an odd skip. "Why?" "Because we were using one of your valve replacement systems, and it worked flawlessly. Every adjustment, every measurement, every safety check perfect. And I thought about how much trust I put in your equipment every single time I step into that operating room. The failed pump was an anomaly, Alex. Everything else you've created, it's extraordinary." "Thank you," Alex said quietly, surprised by how much the words meant coming from Jordan. Jordan stood and moved closer, peering at the microscope display. "So what have you found?" "Manufacturing defect, microscopic flaw in the seal material that should have been caught during quality control but wasn't. 1 in a million chance, but it happened." Alex pulled up a series of images on her tablet. "See here, this stress fracture in the polymer matrix. It would have been invisible to standard quality checks, but under electron microscopy, it's obvious. So, it's fixable. More than fixable. I've already implemented new quality control protocols at our manufacturing facility. Every component now undergoes additional stress testing. This won't happen again." Jordan squeezed her shoulder gently. "I never doubted it." The casual touch sent electricity through Alex's body. She wasn't used to being touched. She actively avoided it with most people, but Jordan's hand on her shoulder felt natural, comforting in a way that made Alex want to lean into it. Jordan seemed to realize what she'd done and pulled her hand back. "Sorry, I'm a touchy person. Force of habit from having a big family." "It's fine," Alex said, and meant it. "Tell me about your family." They spent the next hour talking, while Alex continued her analysis work. Jordan came from a large Irish Catholic family in Wisconsin, 3 brothers, 2 sisters, parents still happily married after 40 years. There were nieces and nephews, raucous holiday gatherings, and a level of emotional openness that seemed alien to Alex's more reserved upbringing. "What about your family?" Jordan asked. Alex hesitated, then found herself sharing things she rarely discussed. Her parents' initial rejection when she came out, the pressure to be perfect, to achieve, to make up for the disappointment of not being straight or interested in traditional family life, the eventual reconciliation with her parents that was more ceasefire than genuine acceptance, her brother's family that existed in a parallel universe of normalcy she could never quite access. "That sounds lonely," Jordan said gently. "It's fine, I'm used to it." "Being used to loneliness doesn't make it less lonely, Alex." The words hit harder than Alex expected. She turned back to her microscope, blinking away unexpected moisture in her eyes. "I should finish this analysis. I need to complete my report tonight so I can fly back to Seattle tomorrow." "Right? Of course." Jordan stood, and Alex could hear the understanding in her voice. She'd pushed too far, gotten too personal. "I'll let you work." "But Alex, I meant what I said about showing you Portland. You're leaving tomorrow, probably late afternoon, once I've finalized everything with hospital administration. Then let me take you to dinner tonight. Nothing fancy, just a place that has the best Thai food in Portland and happens to have a view of the Willamette River. Consider it a thank." you for taking this investigation so seriously. Alex knew she should say no, knew that having dinner alone with Jordan was crossing a line from professional to personal, knew that she was already feeling things for this woman that she hadn't felt for anyone in years, maybe ever. What time? She heard herself ask. Jordan's smile was worth the risk. 7, I'll pick you up at your hotel. After Jordan left, Alex tried to focus on her analysis, but her mind kept drifting to the evening ahead. She was being ridiculous. It was just dinner with a colleague, a professional courtesy, nothing more. But when 7 o'clock rolled around and Alex found herself changing clothes for the third time, she had to admit this felt like more than a professional dinner. She finally settled on dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, casual but put together, and was waiting in the hotel lobby when Jordan arrived right on time. Jordan had changed to trading scrubs for dark slacks and a deep green blouse that made her hazel eyes look almost emerald. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves past her shoulders, and she'd put on minimal makeup that somehow made her look both more polished and more vulnerable. You look beautiful, Jordan said, then immediately looked flustered. I mean, you always look beautiful. Professional, you look professionally beautiful. I'm going to stop talking now. Alex found herself laughing, actually laughing for the first time in days. You look beautiful too, professionally and otherwise. The restaurant Jordan had chosen was tucked into a converted warehouse on the waterfront, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. They were seated at a corner table with a perfect view of the water and the city lights reflecting off its surface. This is incredible, Alex said, watching a boat glide past. How did you find this place? I've lived in Portland for 10 years. You learn where the hidden gems are. Jordan opened her menu. The pad see is life-changing, and the tom kha soup is the best I've had outside of Thailand. You've been to Thailand? Doctors Without Borders, right after I finished my residency, spent 6 months in rural Thailand, providing cardiac care. It was. Jordan's eyes went distant. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and also the most meaningful. We were working with minimal equipment in conditions that would horrify any American hospital administrator. But we saved lives. A lot of lives. Why didn't you stay? Because I realized I could help more people by being here. Training the next generation of cardiac surgeons while doing my own work. But I try to go back every few years, donate equipment, train local doctors. Jordan smiled. Actually, I've been using your portable surgical units for my trips. They're perfect for field medicine, lightweight, reliable, don't require complex infrastructure. Alex felt that same pride and pleasure she'd felt earlier when Jordan praised her work, coming from this woman who'd seen medicine at its most raw and essential. It meant something. They ordered food and wine, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. Jordan told stories about her medical school adventures, the terrible rotations, and the inspiring mentors. Alex found herself sharing more about her company's early days, the struggles to get funding, the first breakthrough that had put Chen Medical on the map, the satisfaction of seeing her innovations used in operating rooms around the world. Do you miss it? Jordan asked. Surgery, I mean, being the one using the equipment instead of designing it. Alex considered the question seriously. Sometimes, but not the way you might think. I don't miss the actual cutting and suturing. I miss the feeling of immediate impact. When you save someone in surgery, you know it right away. With what I do now, the impact is more abstract. I know my devices help people, but I'm removed from it. That's not true though. You're here, right now, because one of your devices failed. You could have sent engineers to investigate, but you came yourself. That's not abstract, that's deeply personal. A device failure is a threat to my company's reputation. It's also a threat to patients, and that's what really drove you here. Jordan reached across the table and gently touched Alex's hand. You can pretend you're all cold business logic, but I see through it. You care deeply. You just don't let anyone see how much. Alex looked down at Jordan's hand on hers, the touch warm and grounding. She should pull away, should maintain professional distance, should remember all the reasons she didn't do relationships or emotional vulnerability. Instead, she turned her hand over and laced her fingers through Jordan's. I don't know how to do this, Alex admitted quietly. Whatever this is, I don't do relationships. I don't do dating. I work 18-hour days and forget to eat and can't remember the last time I saw a movie or read a book that wasn't technical documentation. I'm not asking you to change your life, Alex. I'm just asking if I can be part of it, whatever form that takes. You don't know what you're asking for. I'll disappoint you. I'll forget to call. I'll prioritize work over you. I'll be emotionally unavailable more often than not. Jordan smiled gently. Let me worry about my own expectations. Right now, in this moment, I'm having dinner with a brilliant, fascinating woman who makes me laugh and challenges me and who I can't stop thinking about. That's enough, is it? Alex asked. Because in my experience, it's never enough. People always want more. More time, more attention, more emotion than I can give. Then maybe you've been dating the wrong people. Before Alex could respond, their food arrived. They released each other's hands, but the connection remained, hanging in the air between them like something tangible. The meal was as delicious as Jordan had promised, and they ate while continuing their conversation. Jordan wanted to know everything where Alex had grown up, what she'd been like as a child, when she'd known she wanted to be a doctor. Alex found herself sharing stories she'd never told anyone, things she'd locked away as irrelevant to the person she'd become. I was such a serious kid, Alex said, laughing at a memory. While other kids were playing at recess, I was reading medical textbooks I'd stolen from my mom's study. She's a pediatrician. I think I horrified her with how single-minded I was. Did she want you to be a doctor? She wanted me to be happy. She still wants that, actually. Calls every week to ask if I'm dating anyone, if I'm taking care of myself, if I'm living life or just working. Alex took a sip of wine. She'd like you. The words hung there, surprising them both with their intimacy and implication. I'd like to meet her someday, Jordan said softly. Jordan, I know, too much, too fast. But Alex, I have to be honest with you. I'm not good at playing games or pretending I feel less than I do. I like you a lot. More than is probably wise given we just met and you live in another city and you've made it very clear you don't do relationships. Then why are you interested? Because behind all your walls and defenses, I see someone extraordinary, someone kind and passionate and brilliant, someone who's been hurt before and decided it was safer to be alone. Jordan's hazel eyes were steady on hers. I understand that. I've done my own version of it. But Alex, safe isn't the same as happy. Alex felt her chest tighten with emotion she couldn't name. Fear, hope, longing. What if I can't give you what you need? What if you can? What if we figure it out together? What if it's messy and imperfect and nothing like either of us planned, but it's real and it's ours? They sat in the restaurant long after finishing their meal, talking until the staff started giving them pointed looks. Finally, reluctantly, they paid the bill and walked outside into the cool Portland night. Let me drive you back to your hotel, Jordan offered. It's only a few blocks. We could walk. So they did, strolling along the waterfront with the city lights reflecting off the river. Jordan pointed out landmarks, the bridges, historic buildings, her favorite coffee shop. Alex found herself moving closer, their arms brushing with each step, until finally Jordan reached out and took her hand. Alex's first instinct was to pull away, to restore the professional distance, but Jordan's hand was warm and strong, and holding it felt like the most natural thing in the world. So she held on, and they walked in comfortable silence, watching the river flow past. At the hotel entrance, they stopped. Alex knew she should say goodnight, should go upstairs alone, should remember all the reasons this was a bad idea. Do you want to come up? The words escaped before she could stop them. Just a talk. I have a bottle of wine in my room, and the view is actually quite nice. Jordan studied her carefully. Are you sure? No, but I'm asking anyway. They rode the elevator in charged silence, standing on opposite sides of the car, as if putting physical distance between them could somehow diminish the pull Alex felt. In her room, Alex poured 2 glasses of wine with slightly shaking hands and handed one to Jordan. You're right, Jordan said, moving to the window. The view is incredible. Alex joined her, and they stood side by side looking out at Portland's skyline. The city looked almost magical from this height, all glittering lights and shadowed spaces. I leave tomorrow, Alex said quietly, back to Seattle, back to my life. Whatever this is doesn't have to end, Jordan interrupted. Seattle and Portland are 3 hours apart. People have navigated longer distances. You make it sound simple. Maybe it is simple. Maybe we're the ones making it complicated. Jordan turned to face her. Alex, I'm not asking for a commitment or a relationship label or anything you're not ready to give. I'm just asking if we can keep talking, keep getting to know each other. See where this goes without overthinking every step. Overthinking is what I do best. Then let me do the thinking for both of us. Jordan set down her wine glass and reached for Alex's, setting it beside her own. Right now, in this moment, there's just us. No jobs, no distance, no logistics to figure out, just you and me. Can you let yourself have that? Just for tonight. Alex's heart was pounding so hard she was sure Jordan could hear it. Every rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. This was too fast, too risky, too much. But for once in her carefully controlled life, Alex didn't want to listen to the rational part of her brain. Yes, she whispered, just for tonight. Jordan smiled and reached up to gently cup Alex's face with one hand. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, Alex closed the distance between them, pressing her lips to Jordan's in a kiss that was tentative at first, then deeper as Jordan's arms came around her waist. Alex's hands found Jordan's hair, threading through the soft auburn waves, pulling her closer. The kiss was everything and nothing like Alex had imagined. Soft and fierce, tender and passionate. Jordan tasted like wine and Thai food and something indefinably her, and Alex wanted more, wanted to drown in this feeling of connection and desire and possibility. They broke apart, both breathing hard, and Jordan rested her forehead against Alex's. That was yeah, Alex agreed, because there weren't words for what that had been. They moved to the couch, sitting close together, Jordan's hand resting on Alex's thigh as they talked softly about everything and nothing. Alex felt like she was in a dream, like at any moment she'd wake up and be back in her normal life where she didn't do this, didn't let people in, didn't feel this intensely. What are you thinking? Jordan asked, playing with Alex's fingers. That I don't know how to do this, that I'm terrified, that I haven't felt this way about anyone in, maybe ever. Jordan lifted their joined hands and kissed Alex's knuckles gently. You don't have to know how. We'll figure it out as we go. You have a lot of faith in something that hasn't even started yet. I have faith in you. In us. In the fact that you're here, letting yourself be vulnerable with me, even though it scares you. Jordan's hazel eyes were warm and sincere. That's brave, Alex. That's worth believing in. They talked until nearly 3 a.m, curled together on the couch. Alex shared things she'd never told anyone, her fears about her company, her complicated feelings about success, the loneliness that had become so familiar she sometimes forgot it was there. Jordan listened without judgment, asking questions, offering insights, holding Alex when the emotions threatened to overwhelm her. I should go, Jordan finally said reluctantly. I have early rounds tomorrow, and you need to finish your report. I know, but neither of them moved to get up. Finally, Jordan stood and pulled Alex up with her. At the door, they kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. When will I see you again? Jordan asked. I don't know. I have a packed schedule back in Seattle. Jordan's voice was gentle, but firm. If you want to see me again, we'll figure it out. If you don't, that's okay too. But be honest with yourself about what you want. Alex took a deep breath. Being honest with herself had never been her strong suit when it came to personal matters. But standing here with Jordan, still feeling the warmth of her kiss, Alex knew what she wanted. I want to see you again, she admitted. Soon. Jordan's smile was radiant. Then that's what we'll do. Now get some sleep. And Alex, thank you for tonight, for letting me in, even just a little bit. After Jordan left, Alex stood by the window for a long time, her fingers touching her lips where Jordan had kissed her. She felt cracked open, vulnerable in a way that should terrify her but somehow didn't. She finally went to bed around 4 a.m., and for the first time in years, her dreams weren't about work. They were about hazel eyes and warm smiles and the feeling of being truly seen by someone who mattered. Part 4. The distance between. Alex flew back to Seattle the next afternoon, her investigation complete and her report filed with hospital administration. On the flight, she tried to focus on work, reviewing the new quality control protocols, answering emails from her leadership team, preparing for a board meeting scheduled for later in the week. But her mind kept drifting to Jordan, to their dinner, to that kiss that had seemed to shift something fundamental in Alex's carefully ordered world. Her phone buzzed with a text as the plane landed. Jordan, hope you had a good flight. Thank you again for everything you did here. And for last night, thinking about you. Alex stared at the message for a long moment before typing a response. Thank you for your cooperation with the investigation. And for last night, I'm thinking about you too. It felt inadequate, like trying to capture an ocean in a teaspoon, but it was honest, and Jordan had asked for honesty. Back at Chen Medical Technologies, Alex threw herself into work with renewed intensity. She personally oversaw the implementation of the new quality control measures, conducted spot inspections of the manufacturing line, and met with every department head to ensure the changes were being implemented correctly. Her staff found her even more demanding than usual, which was saying something. Dr. Chen, you're micromanaging the micromanaging, Marcus said carefully after she'd sent back a quality control report for the fourth revision. Everything is being done exactly as you specified. The new protocols are working perfectly. Good isn't good enough. We need perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. You taught me that. Alex looked up sharply. When did I teach you that? About 6 months ago, when I was losing my mind trying to get a quarterly report exactly right. You told me that perfection was the enemy of excellence, and that I should focus on doing excellent work instead of impossible work. Alex slumped back in her chair, realizing Marcus was right. She was displaced, channeling all her confused feelings about Jordan into the one area where she felt in control. Her company. You're right. I'm sorry. The revised protocols are fine. Implement them. Marcus hesitated at the door. Dr. Chen, is everything okay? You've seemed different since you got back from Portland. I'm fine. Just focused on ensuring this doesn't happen again. But she wasn't fine. For 3 days, she and Jordan texted constantly good morning messages, photos of their coffee, random thoughts throughout the day. They talked on the phone every evening, conversations that stretched long into the night. Jordan told her about her surgeries, her patients, the hospital drama. Alex shared frustrations about manufacturing setbacks and victories in R&D. They talked about everything and nothing, building something that felt terrifyingly important. On Thursday night, as they were talking, Jordan said, I miss you. The words hit Alex like a physical blow. No one had ever missed her. People relied on her, needed her expertise, valued her contributions, but miss her, want her presence for no practical reason beyond wanting it. I miss you too, Alex admitted quietly. I didn't think I would, but I do. Come visit this weekend. You don't have to stay long, even just Saturday. We could explore the city, have dinner, spend actual time together instead of just phone calls. Every logical part of Alex's brain protested. She had work to do. A visit to Portland was inefficient. Getting more involved would only make the eventual ending harder. Okay, she said. I'll fly down Saturday morning. Jordan's delighted laugh made every logical protest disappear. Alex spent Friday in a strange state of anticipation and anxiety. She caught herself checking the clock repeatedly, counting down the hours until she'd see Jordan again. It was absurd. She was a billionaire CEO. For God's sake, she didn't moon over women like a teenager. Except apparently, she did, because when she boarded her private plane, Saturday morning, her heart was racing and her palms were actually sweating. Jordan met her at the airport, and the moment Alex saw her, everything else fell away. Jordan was wearing jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, and when she smiled, Alex felt her heart do that impossible skip again. Hi, Jordan said, suddenly shy. Hi. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, until Jordan laughed and pulled Alex into a hug. I'm so glad you're here. Alex hugged her back, breathing in that familiar citrus scent. Me too. Jordan had planned a perfect day. They started with coffee at a tiny shop in the Alberta Arts District, then wandered through art galleries and vintage stores. Alex, who normally had zero patience for shopping or aimless wandering, found herself enchanted by Jordan's running commentary on everything they saw. This painting is trying so hard to be profound that it's actually funny, Jordan said, studying a particularly earnest abstract piece. Like, I get it, you have feelings about the human condition. We all do. But does it require quite this much beige? Alex laughed, actually laughed, and realized she'd been doing that a lot since meeting Jordan. They had lunch at a food truck pod, eating authentic tacos while sitting at a picnic table and watching Portland's eclectic population stroll by. A man on a unicycle juggling chainsaws passed them, and neither of them even blinked. That's the most Portland thing I've ever seen, Alex said. Just wait, it gets weirder. In the afternoon, they visited Powell's City of Books, the massive independent bookstore that took up an entire city block. Jordan led Alex through the labyrinthine stacks, pulling down books and reading favorite passages aloud. Alex found herself watching Jordan more than looking at books, the animated way she talked about stories she loved, the thoughtful way she considered different genres, the pure joy on her face in this space filled with words and ideas. What? Jordan asked, catching Alex staring. You love this. Books, stories, the whole thing. I'm a walking cliché doctor who reads romance novels to unwind. But yeah, I love it. Getting lost in someone else's story, experiencing lives and loves and adventures that are completely different from my own. Jordan pulled down a worn paperback with a couple embracing on the cover. This is one of my favorites. Two women, one's a lawyer, one's a chef. They hate each other at first, then slowly fall in love. It's funny and sexy and has a happy ending, which is all I require from my romance novels. You believe in happy ending? In fiction, absolutely. In life, Jordan replaced the book carefully. I believe in the possibility of them. I think we make our own endings, and they can be happy if we're brave enough to reach for what we want. And what do you want? Alex asked quietly. Jordan met her eyes directly. Right now, I want to kiss you in the middle of this bookstore, but I'm trying to be respectful of public space and your comfort level. Heat flooded through Alex's body. Who says I'm uncomfortable? Then come here. Jordan led her to a quieter section of the store, between stacks of poetry books, where they were mostly hidden from view. She cupped Alex's face in her hands and kissed her slowly, thoroughly, until Alex forgot where they were and why they should probably stop. We should probably stop, Jordan murmured against her lips, echoing Alex's thoughts. Before we scandalize the poetry section. Probably, Alex agreed, but neither of them moved. Finally, they separated, both slightly breathless and grinning like idiots. They bought a few books. Jordan insisted on getting Alex a collection of Mary Oliver poems, saying, "You need more beauty in your life," and continued their wandering exploration of Portland. That's evening approached. Jordan drove them to her apartment in a converted warehouse in the Pearl District. "I thought we could cook dinner together," she said, seeming suddenly nervous. "Unless you'd rather go to a restaurant." "No, this is perfect." Jordan's apartment was small but thoughtfully decorated. Exposed brick walls, vintage furniture she'd clearly collected over years, shelves overflowing with books and medical journals, photographs covered one wall. Jordan with her family, Jordan in surgical scrubs with various teams, Jordan in rural Thailand surrounded by smiling children. "That was my Doctors Without Borders trip," Jordan said, noticing Alex's attention. "Those kids were incredible, so resilient. They'd come to the clinic with serious heart conditions, terrified but trying to be brave. I still email with some of their families." "You stay in touch?" "Of course, they're not just patients, they're people I care about." Jordan pulled vegetables from her refrigerator. "Okay, I'm making my famous stir-fry, which is only famous to me and absolutely not authentic to any particular Asian cuisine, but it's delicious. Can you chop vegetables?" They fell into an easy rhythm in the kitchen, Jordan cooking while Alex chopped and followed instructions. Music played from a Bluetooth speaker, indie folk that Alex would normally dismiss but found herself enjoying. Jordan sang along, unselfconsciously, occasionally using a wooden spoon as a microphone, making Alex laugh. "You're different here," Alex observed, "more relaxed than at the hospital." "Everyone's different at home. Even you, I bet." "I wouldn't know. I'm barely ever at my apartment. I usually just sleep there between working." Jordan stopped stirring and looked at her seriously. "Alex, that's not sustainable. When was the last time you took a real vacation?" "Define real." "More than a weekend, somewhere with no cell service or at least the self-control not to check emails constantly. Time to just be instead of constantly doing." Alex had to think. "Maybe medical school. I took a week off after my board exams. That was over a decade ago. I've been busy building a company." "You've built it. It's successful. Now you need to live your life, not just work it." Jordan softened her tone. "I'm not criticizing you. I'm worried about you. This pace isn't healthy for anyone. You're a surgeon. You work insane hours. I do, but I also take time off. I see my friends. I have hobbies. I go home and cook dinner and read books and occasionally watch terrible reality TV while eating ice cream straight from the carton. I have a life outside the hospital. And I don't." Alex heard the defensiveness in her own voice. "Do you?" Jordan asked gently. "Beyond work, what brings you joy? What do you do just for yourself? Not because it's productive or useful, but because it makes you happy." Alex wanted to argue, to list all the ways her life was full and meaningful, but standing in Jordan's warm, lived-in kitchen, she couldn't think of a single thing. When had she last done something purely for joy? When had she last let herself be unproductive? "I don't know," she admitted quietly. Jordan put down her spoon and pulled Alex into a hug. "Then let's figure it out together, starting with dinner, wine, and absolutely no talk about work." They ate on Jordan's small balcony as the sun set over Portland, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Jordan asked about Alex's childhood, her dreams before medical school, what she'd wanted to be when she was young. Alex found herself talking about things she hadn't thought about in years, how she'd loved astronomy as a kid, how she'd wanted to be an astronaut until she realized she got motion sickness, how she'd spent teenage summers volunteering at her mother's clinic and falling in love with medicine. You lit up when you talked about that, Jordan observed. The volunteering at your mom's clinic, that's when you decided to become a doctor. That's when I realized medicine mattered. Helping people mattered. My mom would take me on home visits sometimes to check on kids who couldn't easily get to the clinic. I saw how much difference one person could make. Alex paused. I wanted to make that kind of difference. And you do, just differently than you originally planned. Maybe. It doesn't always feel that way. Jordan reached across the small table and took her hand. Alex, you save lives every single day. Your innovations have revolutionized cardiac surgery. That matters immensely. You just can't see it because you're not in the operating room watching it happen. Do you ever doubt it? Your choice to be a surgeon, all the time, Jordan admitted. Every time I lose a patient, every time I have to tell a family their person didn't make it, every time I'm so exhausted I can barely stand but have another surgery scheduled, I doubt whether I'm good enough, strong enough, whether I made the right choice, but you keep doing it, because on balance, the good outweighs the doubt. The patients I save, the lives I extend, the families I get to give good news to, that matters more than my exhaustion or doubt. Jordan squeezed Alex's hand. I suspect it's the same for you, if you let yourself see it. They moved inside as the evening grew cooler, settling on Jordan's comfortable couch with glasses of wine. Jordan put on a movie, a romantic comedy that required zero thought, and they ended up cuddled together, Jordan's head on Alex's shoulder, Alex's arm around her waist. I could get used to this, Jordan murmured. So could I, Alex admitted. That's what scares me. Why does it scare you? Alex was quiet for a long moment, trying to find words for feelings she barely understood herself. Because I don't know how to balance this with my work. Because I'm afraid I'll disappoint you. Because every relationship I've ever attempted has ended with someone telling me I'm too focused on my career, too emotionally unavailable, the something or not enough something else. Jordan shifted to look up at her. I'm not them. I'm not going to demand you choose between me and your work. I understand ambition and dedication. I live them too. What I'm asking for is space in your life, not all of it. I don't know how to do that. It's all or nothing for me. Always has been. Then maybe it's time to learn a different way. Jordan reached up and gently traced Alex's cheekbone. You're so hard on yourself, so convinced you're not capable of this. But Alex, you're here. You flew to Portland on a Saturday for no reason except to see me. You spent the whole day wandering around the city when you could have been working. You're having this conversation instead of running away from it. That's not someone who's incapable of relationships. That's someone who's trying. What if trying isn't enough? What if it is? Alex couldn't answer that, so instead she kissed Jordan, pouring all her confusion and fear and unexpected feelings into the kiss. Jordan responded with equal intensity, her hands sliding into Alex's hair. Pulling her closer, they made out on the couch like teenagers, hands exploring over clothes, breath coming faster, until Jordan pulled back slightly. Stay tonight, she said. I'm not asking for anything more than sleeping in the same bed. But stay, let yourself have one night of not being alone. Alex knew she should say no, should maintain some distance, some control, should get back to Seattle and her orderly, solitary life. Okay, she whispered, I'll stay. Part 5. The balancing act. Alex did stay that night, and it was both everything and nothing like she'd imagined. Jordan lent her a t-shirt and sleep shorts, and they curled up in Jordan's comfortable bed, talking, until they both drifted off. Alex woke in the middle of the night, momentarily disoriented, until she felt Jordan's warmth beside her and remembered where she was. She lay awake for a while, watching Jordan sleep. In repose, Jordan's face was peaceful, free of the intensity she brought to surgery and conversation. Alex felt a surge of tenderness so strong it almost hurt that this was dangerous. This feeling, this connection, it was exactly what she'd spent her adult life avoiding, because caring this much meant the potential for loss, for pain, for all the messy emotional chaos that came with letting someone matter. But lying there in the pre-dawn darkness, listening to Jordan's steady breathing, Alex couldn't bring herself to regret it. In the morning, Jordan made them coffee and breakfast, moving around her small kitchen with easy efficiency. Alex sat at the counter watching her, marveling at how domestic and comfortable it all felt. "What's your schedule like this week?" Jordan asked, sliding a plate of scrambled eggs and toast across to Alex. "Insane. Board meeting Monday, investor presentations Tuesday and Wednesday, meeting with the FDA Thursday about a new device approval, then flying to San Francisco Friday for a conference, the cardiac surgery conference. I'm going to that too, presenting my paper on innovative approaches to complex valve replacements." Really, Alex felt a ridiculous surge of happiness at the prospect of seeing Jordan again so soon. "Really? So maybe we could have dinner one night, continue this conversation." "I'd like that." They ate breakfast together, and Alex found herself reluctant to leave. She had work waiting in Seattle, emails piling up, a dozen things that needed her attention. But sitting in Jordan's sunny kitchen, eating eggs and stealing glances at this woman, who made her feel things she'd never felt before this, felt more important than any of it. Finally, though, reality intruded. Alex's flight was at noon, and she needed to get back to her hotel for her things before heading to the airport. At the door, Jordan pulled her into a long hug. "Thank you for coming, for staying, for trying. Thank you for inviting me, for being patient with me." Jordan pulled back and kissed her softly. "Alex, I'm not just patient with you, I'm falling for you. I know that's probably too much too fast, but I promised you honesty. So there it is, I'm falling for you, and I'm not sorry about it." Alex felt her breath catch. She should feel panic, should feel trapped, should want to run. Instead, she felt something that might have been joy. "I think I'm falling for you too," she admitted, "and it terrifies me. Good terrified or bad terrified, I don't know yet." Jordan smiled. "I can work with that." The flight back to Seattle felt longer than usual. Alex tried to work, but found herself thinking about Jordan instead, about the way she laughed, the way she cared so deeply about her patients, the way she challenged Alex while also making her feel accepted. Her phone buzzed with a text. "Jordan, already missing you. Is that pathetic?" "Alex, not pathetic. I'm missing you too." Jordan. "Good. Now go be a brilliant CEO. But don't forget to eat lunch." Alex smiled, despite herself. No one reminded her to eat lunch. No one worried about whether she was taking care of herself. It should feel intrusive, but instead it felt like being cared for. The next week fell into a pattern. They texted throughout the day and talked every evening, sometimes for hours. Jordan told Alex about her surgeries, the wins and losses. Alex found herself sharing more about the challenges of running a company, difficult employees, investor pressure, the constant weight of being responsible for hundreds of people's livelihoods. "You know what I think," Jordan said during one late-night call. "I think you need a vacation. A real one, not a business trip with a few hours of downtime. I can't just take a vacation. I have responsibilities. Everyone has responsibilities. That's not an excuse to never rest." "When was your last vacation?" 2 months ago. Spent a week in Hawaii with my sister and her family. Read 4 novels, learned to surf badly, and didn't think about work once." Alex tried to remember her last actual vacation and came up empty. "I don't know how to not work. Even when I'm not physically at the office, I'm thinking about projects, solving problems in my head." "Then you need to learn, and I volunteer to teach you." "Oh really?" "Absolutely. After the San Francisco conference, we should go somewhere, just for a weekend, somewhere beautiful and relaxing where you can practice the lost art of doing nothing." "I don't do nothing well, I've noticed." "But Alex, you can't sustain this pace forever. Eventually something will break, and I'd prefer it not be you." The concern in Jordan's voice made Alex's chest tight. "I'll think about it." That's better than an outright no. I'll take it. The San Francisco conference couldn't come fast enough. Alex found herself counting down the days, which was absurd and completely unlike her. She was a CEO, not a lovesick teenager. But every morning she woke up thinking about Jordan, and every night she fell asleep with her phone still warm from their conversations. Marcus definitely noticed the change. "You smiled at Jenkins today," he said on Thursday afternoon, referring to the notoriously difficult head of manufacturing. "You never smile at Jenkins. Are you feeling okay?" "I'm fine. He finally implemented the changes I requested 6 months ago. That deserves acknowledgement." "You also left at 7 p.m. yesterday." 7 p.m. I had to check the security logs because I thought it was a mistake. Alex looked up from her computer. "Are you monitoring my comings and goings now? Someone has to make sure you're still human." Marcus set a folder on her desk. These are the materials for the San Francisco conference. Your presentation is scheduled for Saturday afternoon. Comparative analysis of next-generation cardiac monitoring systems. Very technical, very you. There's also a cocktail reception Friday night and a gala dinner Saturday. I'll skip the social events. You know I hate those, actually. Marcus looked uncomfortable. The board specifically requested you attend. They want you networking with potential partners and investors. Plus, you're receiving an award Saturday night, the Innovator of the Year from the Cardiac Surgery Association. Alex felt her stomach drop. An award ceremony meant a speech, meant being in front of hundreds of people, meant the kind of attention she'd spent her career trying to avoid. Can't someone else accept it? It's your award, Dr. Chen, for your contributions to cardiac surgery. You kind of have to be there. After Marcus left, Alex texted Jordan. Apparently, I'm receiving an award at the conference, which means giving a speech in front of people. I hate giving speeches. Jordan's response came immediately. You'll be brilliant, and I'll be there cheering you on. Also, possibly heckling, if you're too boring. Alex, you wouldn't dare. Jordan, try me. I once threw popcorn at a particularly tedious keynote speaker during medical school, got detention from the dean. Alex, that's not something to brag about. Jordan, it is if the speaker was genuinely terrible, which you won't be, because you're amazing. Now stop worrying and go do CEO things. Friday came, and Alex flew to San Francisco on her private jet, reviewing her presentation notes during the flight. She'd prepared meticulously 50 slides covering 10 years of innovation in cardiac technology, complete with data visualization and clinical outcome studies. It was perfect. It was also probably too technical for a general audience, but Alex didn't know how to be less technical about her work. The conference hotel was the Fairmont, perched atop Nob Hill, with stunning views of the bay. Alex checked in, changed into business attire, and reluctantly headed down to the cocktail reception. The ballroom was already crowded with doctors, researchers, and medical device representatives. Alex grabbed a glass of wine and positioned herself near the windows, scanning the crowd. And then she saw Jordan. Jordan was across the room, laughing at something an older gentleman was saying. She wore a burgundy dress that hugged her curves and made her auburn hair look even more vibrant. Even from a distance, Alex could see the warmth in her smile, the way she engaged completely with whoever she was talking to. As if sensing Alex's gaze, Jordan looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and Jordan's smile widened. She excused herself from her conversation and made her way through the crowd. Hi, Joanne said, slightly breathless. You came. I said I would. I know, but part of me thought you might bail on the social events and just show up for your presentation. Jordan's eyes traveled over Alex appreciatively. You look incredible, by the way. That suit is lethal. Alex felt heat rise in her cheeks. You look beautiful. That dress is. She couldn't finish the sentence, too distracted by how the burgundy silk draped over Jordan's body. Probably too much for a medical conference. Jordan finished with a laugh. But I figured if I was going to see you, I wanted to look nice. You succeeded. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, until someone bumped into Jordan, pushing her slightly closer to Alex. Jordan's hand came to rest on Alex's arm to steady herself, and the touch sent electricity through Alex's body. Want to get out of here? Jordan asked quietly. There's a roof deck that's probably less crowded. Alex nodded, and they made their way through the throng of people to an elevator that took them to the hotel's roof terrace. The view was spectacular. The bay spread out below them, the Golden Gate Bridge, visible in the distance, the city lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled. Better, Jordan said, leaning against the railing. I love medical conferences, but sometimes I need a break from talking shop. Then why did you come to the cocktail reception? Because I knew you'd be here. Jordan turned to face her. Alex, I've been thinking about you constantly. It's actually becoming a problem. I nearly gave a patient the wrong medication today because I was distracted thinking about what we'd say when we saw each other again. You didn't actually give them the wrong medication, did you? Alex couldn't help the concern in her voice. No, I caught it. But still, you're very distracting. Jordan stepped closer. I want to kiss you right now, but we're at a professional conference and there are probably people we know around. There's no one up here but us. Alex Chen, are you suggesting we make out on a hotel roof deck? I'm suggesting that I've spent the last week thinking about you too, and seeing you in that dress is making it very hard to maintain professional distance. Jordan's smile was brilliant. Then don't. Alex closed the distance between them, cupping Jordan's face in her hands and kissing her deeply. Jordan made a small sound of pleasure and wrapped her arms around Alex's waist, pulling her closer. The kiss was intense, desperate. Months of longing compressed into this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jordan rested her forehead against Alex's. I really like you. Like a concerning amount for someone I've known less than a month. Same. It's very inconvenient. The worst. Jordan kissed her again, softer this time. What are we doing, Alex? I have no idea, but I don't want to stop. But, because neither do I. Jordan pulled back slightly. So, here's what I'm thinking. We have 2 nights in San Francisco. Let's make the most of them. No more overthinking. No more worrying about logistics or whether this makes sense. Let's just be together and figure out the rest later. That's very unmethodical of you. I'm a surgeon. Sometimes you have to make quick decisions based on incomplete information and trust your instincts. Jordan's hazel eyes were warm and sincere. My instincts are telling me you're worth the risk. Alex felt something in her chest loosen, a knot of anxiety she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. Okay. 2 nights. No overthink. I think starting right now. Come on, let's ditch this reception and get dinner somewhere that doesn't involve networking with colleagues. They took an Uber to a small Italian restaurant in North Beach, tucked away from the tourist crowds. Over pasta and wine, they talked about everything except medicine and work. Jordan told Alex about her childhood in Wisconsin, growing up in a chaotic house full of siblings, learning to cook from her Italian grandmother. The summer she decided she wanted to be a doctor after volunteering at a free clinic. I was 16, Jordan said, twirling pasta around her fork. This elderly woman came in with chest pain. The doctor was explaining that she needed to see a specialist, but she kept saying she couldn't afford it. I watched the doctor, this amazing woman named Dr. Patelkal, in favors, arrange for pro bono care, personally drive this woman to appointments, and I thought, that's what I want to do. Not just medicine, but medicine that makes a difference for people who need it most. Is that why you do the Doctors Without Borders work? Partly, also because it reminds me why I got into this field in the first place. When you're working in a hospital, especially at a big research institution, it's easy to get caught up in the prestige and the politics. But when you're in a village in Thailand or Guatemala or wherever, doing surgery with limited resources, saving a life becomes very simple and very clear. It's just you and your skills and a person who needs help. Alex found herself envying that clarity. I sometimes wonder if I've lost that, the clear sense of purpose. I spend so much time in board meetings and investor presentations, managing people and protecting the company's interests. The actual medicine feels very far away. Then maybe you need to get closer to it again. Come on one of my medical trips. See your equipment being used in the field. Meet the patients whose lives you're saving. I couldn't possibly. Why not? You own the company. You can do whatever you want. It's not that simple. It could be, Jordan said gently. If you let it be. They left the restaurant and walked through the streets of North Beach, hand in hand, window shopping and people watching. Alex couldn't remember the last time she'd done something this simple and aimless. It felt foreign and wonderful. Want to see something cool? Jordan asked, leading them down a side street. Is it legal? Probably not, but we're not going to get caught. Jordan stopped in front of an old apartment building and punched a code into the door. My med school roommate lives here. She gave me the code for roof access. They took a narrow staircase to the roof, emerging onto a small space with a spectacular view of the city. Jordan spread her jacket on the ground, and they sat looking out at San Francisco sparkling below them. You know what I like about you? Jordan said, leaning against Alex's shoulder. My money. My award-winning innovations. Your terrible jokes. Jordan poked her playfully. But no, I like that underneath all your ice queen exterior, you're incredibly vulnerable. You care so much about everything, your work, your employees, whether your devices are safe. You just pretend you don't because it's safer. I'm not vulnerable. You're terrified right now. I can feel it. You're sitting here with me on a roof in San Francisco, and part of you is screaming to run away before you get hurt. But you're staying. That takes courage, Alex. That takes being vulnerable. Alex was quiet for a long moment. I don't know how to do this. I've spent so long being alone, being untouchable. What if I'm broken somehow? What if I'm not capable of being what you need? Jordan shifted to look at her directly. What if you're not broken? What if you're just someone who's never had the right person see you for who you really are? Alex, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to try, to let me in, to see where this goes. What if it doesn't work out? What if we try and it falls apart and I've disrupted my entire life for nothing? Then it falls apart and we deal with it. But what if it does work? What if this is the beginning of something real and lasting and wonderful? Are you really going to walk away from that possibility because you're afraid? Alex looked out at the city, thinking about risk and reward, about the careful way she'd constructed her life to avoid exactly this kind of chaos. And then she looked at Jordan, beautiful, passionate, challenging Jordan, realized that maybe chaos wasn't the worst thing that could happen. No, she said quietly, I'm not going to walk away. Jordan's smile was radiant. Good, because I'm pretty invested in this working out. They stayed on the roof until nearly midnight, talking and kissing and planning nothing. When Jordan finally said she should get back to the hotel, she had her presentation early tomorrow. Alex walked her to the Uber, reluctant to let her go. Tomorrow night, Jordan said, kissing her softly, after your awards ceremony, we'll celebrate properly. I have to give a speech, and you'll be brilliant. I have complete faith in you. As the Uber drove away, Alex stood on the sidewalk feeling lighter than she had in years. For once in her carefully controlled life, she wasn't thinking about the next quarter's projections, or the next board meeting, or the next crisis to manage. She was thinking about Jordan's smile, and the way it felt to be seen by someone who genuinely understood her. Part 6. The turning point the next day was a blur of conference activities. Alex attended several sessions in the morning, presentations on innovative surgical techniques, debates about the future of cardiac care, networking with colleagues she normally avoided. She was hyper-aware of Jordan's presence in the same building, occasionally catching glimpses of her in hallways or across crowded conference rooms. They texted throughout the day. Jordan, that presentation on robotic surgery just name-dropped your company 3 times. You're basically famous. Alex, I'm not famous. My work is recognized in a very specific field. Jordan, same thing. Also, you're trending on medical Twitter. #ChunMedTech is apparently a thing. Alex, there's a medical Twitter. Jordan, there's a Twitter for everything. Don't worry. Most of it is just doctors arguing about the best surgical approach to various conditions. Very nerdy. You'd love it. Alex's presentation was at 2 p.m. in the main ballroom. She'd given hundreds of presentations before, but this felt different somehow. Jordan would be in the audience, and the thought made Alex both nervous and strangely excited. She took the stage precisely at 2, her slides queued up, her notes memorized even though she'd brought them for backup. The room was packed, easily 300 people, all watching her expectantly. Good afternoon, Alex began, her voice steady despite her nerves. 10 years ago, I left surgical practice to pursue a question. What if we could make cardiac surgery not just safer, but fundamentally different? What if the tools we used could anticipate problems before they became crises? She clicked to her first slide, a diagram of the human heart with overlay graphics showing potential failure points. This presentation will cover the evolution of predictive cardiac technology, from our first-generation monitoring systems to the AI-assisted surgical platforms we're currently testing. For the next 45 minutes, Alex walked the audience through a decade of innovation. She showed clinical data, survival statistics, surgeon feedback. She talked about failures, including the Portland incident, which she addressed head-on, explaining how a single device failure had led to comprehensive systems improvements. Medicine is not about perfection, Alex said, approaching her conclusion. It's about continuous improvement. It's about learning from every mistake, every near miss, every unexpected outcome. The cardiac pump that failed in Portland, it led to changes that have made every device we manufacture safer. That's the real innovation, not the breakthrough moments, but the daily work of getting better. She paused, looking out at the audience. Her eyes found Jordan, sitting in the third row, watching her with an expression of pride and something deeper that made Alex's breath catch. I left surgery because I thought I could help more people from a distance. And maybe that's true. That devices Chen medical technologies manufactures are used in thousands of surgeries every year. But recently, someone reminded me that distance comes with a cost. That being removed from the actual work of medicine means losing something essential. So, I'm announcing today that Chen Medical will be launching a new initiative, partnering with Doctors Without Borders and similar organizations to provide equipment and training in underserved areas around the world. Because innovation should benefit everyone, not just those who can afford the best hospitals. The audience broke into applause. Alex fielded questions for 20 minutes, technical queries about device specifications, timeline questions about the new initiative, skeptical inquiries about profitability. She answered them all with her usual precision, but part of her attention was on Jordan, whose smile was brilliant and proud. When the session finally ended, Alex was immediately surrounded by people wanting to talk, potential partners, admiring colleagues, journalists looking for quotes. She answered questions patiently, but her eyes kept searching for Jordan in the crowd. Finally, after nearly an hour of networking, Alex felt a gentle hand on her lower back. Jordan leaned in close, her voice low. "That was incredible. The Doctors Without Borders announcement. You didn't tell me you were planning that." "I wasn't. It just came out, but it felt right." "It was right." "Alex, do you know how many lives that initiative could save? How much difference it could make?" "It's going to be complicated, expensive. The board might fight me on it." "Then you'll convince them." "You're brilliant at that." Jordan squeezed her hand quickly, an abbreviated touch, appropriate for Publicond, stepped back. "I have to go prepare for the gala, but I'll see you there." "Unfortunately, I'm accepting an award, which means a speech. Which means I get to watch you be brilliant in formal wear. I call that a win." Jordan's eyes sparkled. "Wear the navy suit? Trust me." After Jordan left, Alex made her way back to her hotel room to prepare for the evening. She did wear the navy suit, a perfectly tailored three-piece that she'd had custom made in Milan last year and never worn because it felt too formal for her usual events. But something about Jordan's suggestion made her want to dress up, to look her best. The gala was in the hotel's grand ballroom, transformed for the evening with dramatic lighting and elegant table settings. Alex arrived exactly on time, located her assigned seat at the head table, and immediately felt out of place. She hated these events, the forced small talk, the self-congratulatory atmosphere, the way everyone seemed to be performing rather than connecting. But then Jordan arrived, wearing a floor-length emerald gown that made Alex's mouth go dry. Their eyes met across the ballroom, and Jordan smiled before being swept into conversation with a group of surgeons Alex vaguely recognized. Dinner was endless, multiple courses, speeches from various cardiac surgery luminaries, video presentations about the state of the field. Alex picked at her food, hyper-aware of Jordan's presence somewhere in the crowd, wishing she could skip to the part where they left and actually spent time together. Finally, after what felt like hours, the MC approached the podium. "And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The Cardiac Surgery Association's Innovator of the Year Award recognizes individuals whose contributions have fundamentally transformed our field. This year's recipient has revolutionized surgical technology, saved countless lives, and continued to push the boundaries of what's possible in cardiac care. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Alexandria Chen." The applause was thunderous. Alex stood, smoothing her suit jacket, and made her way to the stage. She accepted the heavy crystal award from the association president, a distinguished older surgeon she'd met a few times at various conferences. "Dr. Chen," the MC said, stepping aside. A few words. Alex approached the microphone, looking out at the sea of faces. She hated this part, hated being the center of attention, hated the expectation that she'd say something profound and inspiring. Her prepared remarks felt hollow than the generic platitudes about innovation and dedication. Her eyes found Jordan in the crowd, and something shifted. "Thank you for this honor," Alex began. "When I started Chen Medical Technologies 10 years ago, I had a very clear vision: create better tools for cardiac surgery, make them more reliable, more precise, more intuitive. In many ways, I've succeeded at that vision. Our devices are used in leading hospitals around the world. The survival rates for certain procedures have improved significantly because of innovations my team developed." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "But recently, someone challenged my assumptions about what success looks like. Someone reminded me that innovation divorced from human connection is empty, that the best technology in the world means nothing if it doesn't reach the people who need it most, that being brilliant is less important than being present." Alex's eyes stayed on Jordan. This person, this extraordinary surgeon who saved a life when my equipment failed, taught me that there's courage in vulnerability, that opening yourself up to uncertainty, to connection, to the messiness of actually caring about things beyond your control. That's harder and more important than any technical achievement. The room was completely silent, everyone hanging on her words. "So yes, I'm grateful for this award, but I'm more grateful for the reminder that innovation should be in service of humanity, not just in service of perfection, that the best work comes from connection, not isolation, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone in. She raised the award slightly. Thank you. And to the surgeon from Portland who saved my patient and changed my perspective, thank you most of all. The applause was deafening. Alex left the stage quickly, her heart pounding, acutely aware that she'd just made a very public declaration about Jordan without naming her. Anyone paying attention would figure it out. The whole room probably knew she'd been in Portland, investigating a device failure. She just publicly outed her feelings for Jordan to 300 of their colleagues. Alex was halfway to the exit when Jordan intercepted her, grabbing her hand and pulling her into a side corridor. What was that? Jordan demanded, her eyes wide. I don't know. I was supposed to give a generic thank you speech, but then I saw you and it all just came out. Alex, Jordan's voice was breathless. You basically just told everyone at this conference that you have feelings for me. I know, I'm sorry. I should have asked you first, should have been more discreet. Jordan kissed her, cutting off the apology. It was intense and deep and public. Anyone could walk down this corridor and see them. When they finally broke apart, Jordan was grinning. Don't apologize. That was possibly the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. Even if it was disguised as an acceptance speech to the Cardiac Surgery Association, people are going to talk. Let them talk. Alex, you just told a room full of our colleagues that I changed your life. Do you know how that feels? Jordan cupped her face gently. It feels like maybe you're as invested in this as I am. Like maybe this isn't just a casual thing for you. It's not casual. It's terrifying and consuming and completely unlike anything I've ever felt before. Jordan, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I don't want to do it without you. Jordan's smile was radiant. Good, because I'm falling in love with you, Alexandria Chen, and I'm done pretending I'm not. Alex felt her breath catch. Love. Jordan was falling in love with her. The sensible thing would be to step back, to slow down, to protect herself from the inevitable pain of caring this much. Instead, she kissed Jordan again, pouring everything she felt into it all, her fear and hope and desperate wanting. I think I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered against Jordan's lips. And it's the scariest thing I've ever done. Scarier than starting a billion-dollar company. Much scarier. Companies I understand. I have no idea what I'm doing. Then we'll figure it out together. Jordan took her hand. Come on, let's get out of here. I have champagne in my room and zero interest in going back to that gala. They took the elevator to Jordan's floor, stealing kisses between floors, neither caring if anyone saw. In Jordan's room, they kicked off their formal shoes and collapsed onto the couch, finally alone. You know what's funny? Jordan said, pouring them each a glass of champagne. A month ago, I was perfectly content with my life. Good job, good friends, no complications. And then you showed up in my hospital at 4 a.m., all intense and brilliant and determined to understand what went wrong. And suddenly, everything changed. Changed how? I stopped being satisfied with good enough. You made me want more connection, more risk, more life. Before you, I was going through the motions. Now I'm actually living. Alex took a sip of champagne, letting the bubbles fizz on her tongue. I've never been someone's reason for anything positive before. Usually I'm the workaholic people complain about, the CEO who demands too much, the woman who can't commit. You're committing right now, am I? Because it still feels like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and panic about what I said in that speech, about how public this is becoming, about all the ways this could go wrong. Jordan set down her glass and moved closer, taking both of Alex's hands in hers. Then panic. I'm not asking you to be perfect or fearless. I'm asking you to try, to be honest with me about your fears instead of running from them, to let us figure this out together, instead of deciding alone that it won't work. What if I disappoint you? Then you disappoint me, and we deal with it. Alex, I'm not some fragile thing that will shatter if you're not perfect. I'm a cardiac surgeon. I deal with life and death every day. I can handle you being human. Alex laughed, despite herself. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. I like you. You like me. We live 3 hours apart, which is inconvenient but not impossible. We both have demanding careers, which means we understand each other's schedules. We're both stubborn and driven, and occasionally too intense. We're actually pretty compatible when you think about it. You forgot the part where I'm emotionally unavailable and you're a hopeless romantic. That just means we balance each other out. I'll teach you to be more open. You'll teach me to be more practical. It's perfect. Alex studied Jordan's face, the warmth in her hazel eyes, the slight smile playing at her lips, the complete absence of doubt or reservation. How are you so sure about this? About us? Because when I'm with you, everything makes sense. The world gets quieter. I feel more like myself than I have in years. Jordan leaned forward and kissed her softly. Because I've dated a lot of women, and none of them have ever made me feel the way you do. Because I'm 33 years old, and I know what I want, and I want you. Alex felt something crack open in her chest, years of carefully constructed walls, crumbling under the weight of Jordan's certainty. I want you to. I'm just not sure I know how to do this. Then we'll learn together, starting right now. Jordan stood and pulled Alex up with her. Dance with me. There's no music. Jordan pulled out her phone and started a playlist, slow romantic jazz that filled the hotel room. There is now. Come here. Alex let herself be pulled into Jordan's arms, swaying slowly to the music. It felt absurdly domestic and romantic, like something from one of those movies Jordan probably loved. But it also felt perfect. Jordan's arms around her waist, her own hands resting on Jordan's shoulders, the two of them moving together in the dim light of the hotel room. See, Jordan murmured, you're doing it. You're having a relationship moment. I'm dancing. That's not the same as having a relationship. It's close enough for now. Jordan pulled back slightly to look at her. Alex, I know you're scared. I know this is all new and overwhelming for you, but I need you to know something. I'm in this, not halfway, not conditionally. I'm all in. As messy and complicated as it might be, Alex felt tears prick her eye, something that almost never happened. I don't know if I can promise you that. I don't know if I'm capable of being all in. The next few weeks were challenging. The FDA investigation continued. The lawsuits were filed, expected but still painful, and media scrutiny remained intense. But Alex handled it all with Jordan's support, her team's dedication, and a renewed sense of purpose. She also started therapy, something Jordan had gently suggested and Alex had initially resisted. I don't need therapy. I need to fix my company. You can do both, Jordan had pointed out. And dealing with this level of crisis while carrying childhood trauma about perfectionism and failure, that's exactly what therapy is for. Her therapist, Dr. Sarah Martinez, was annoyingly perceptive. Within 3 sessions, she'd identified patterns Alex had spent decades avoiding. Her need to prove herself stemming from her parents' initial rejection, her workaholism as a way to avoid intimacy, her perfectionism as a defense against feeling unworthy. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking for honesty and effort. Can you give me that? Alex thought about it, really thought about it, about what it would mean to try, to be vulnerable, to risk her carefully ordered life for something as unpredictable as love. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a mistake, that she should protect herself, that getting this involved would only end in pain. But looking at Jordan, beautiful, passionate Jordan, who saw through all her defenses and liked her anyway, Alex realized she didn't want to listen to the logical part of her brain anymore. Yes, she said quietly, I can give you that, honesty and effort, and probably a lot of panic attacks and overthinking along the way. Jordan's laugh was warm and bright. I can work with that. They stayed up late into the night, talking about logistics and practicalities. Jordan suggested Alex could fly to Portland every other weekend, or Jordan could come to Seattle. They could take turns, make it work around their schedules. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be possible. What about when it gets hard? Alex asked around 3 a.m., both of them lying on Jordan's bed, fully clothed, too engrossed in conversation to bother changing. When I miss important things because of work, when we haven't seen each other in weeks, when the distance feels like too much, then we talk about it. We figure it out. We don't give up just because it's difficult. Jordan rolled onto her side, propping herself up on one elbow. Alex, I'm not saying this will be easy. Long distance is hard. Balancing two demanding careers is hard. But you know what else is hard? Being alone, pretending you don't need anyone, building walls so high that no one can climb them. I'm good at being alone. You're good at surviving alone. That's not the same as being good at it. Jordan reached out and traced a finger along Alex's jaw. I think you're lonely, even if you won't admit it. I think you've been lonely for a long time, and I think you're tired of it, even though that terrifies you. Alex felt exposed in a way that should make her want to run, but instead, she leaned into Jordan's touch. You're right, I am lonely. I have been for years. I just didn't realize it until I met you. Then let me in. For real, not just physically here in San Francisco, but into your actual life. Meet my friends, let me meet yours. Introduce me to your family. Let people know we're together. People already know. After that speech tonight, everyone knows. Jordan smiled. Then we're officially out to the cardiac surgery community. That's a start. They finally fell asleep around 4 a.m., wrapped around each other fully clothed on top of Jordan's hotel bedspread. When Alex woke a few hours later, disoriented and wrinkled, Jordan was already awake, watching her with a soft expression. "Morning," Jordan said quietly. "We fell asleep." "We did. You snore a little, by the way." "It's adorable." Alex groaned and buried her face in Jordan's shoulder. "I do not snore." "You do." Very softly, like a kitten. "I'm leaving. This relationship is over." Jordan laughed and pulled her closer. "Too late. You already declared your love for me in front of 300 witnesses. You're stuck with me now." Alex lifted her head and looked at Jordan, hair mussed from sleep, makeup smudged, emerald dress wrinkled beyond recognition. She was the most beautiful thing Alex had ever seen. "I guess there are worse things to be stuck with," Alex admitted. "That's the most romantic thing you've ever said to me. Give me time. I'm new at this." They ordered room service breakfast and ate in Jordan's bed, both needing to catch flights back to their respective cities but reluctant to let the weekend end. The real world felt very far away, and Alex wanted to stay in this bubble where nothing existed except the two of them. But eventually, reality intruded. Jordan had surgery scheduled Monday morning. Alex had a board meeting. They both had responsibilities they couldn't ignore. "When will I see you again?" Alex asked as they stood at the door, both packed and ready to leave, but neither wanting to go. "Next weekend. I could fly to Seattle Friday night, spend the weekend." "I'd like that." Jordan kissed her, slow and sweet. "This is real, right? We're actually doing this." "We're doing this," Alex confirmed, surprised by how much she meant it. The first few weeks of their relationship were both easier and harder than Alex expected. The easy part was how much she enjoyed talking to Jordan every day, how their nightly phone calls became the highlight of her day, how she found herself smiling at random times, just thinking about something Jordan had said. The hard part was everything else. Marcus noticed immediately that something had changed. "You're distracted," he said after Alex had to ask him to repeat something for the third time during a meeting. "What's going on?" "Nothing. I'm focused on work." "You just spaced out during a budget review." "You love budget reviews. They're your favorite thing." Alex sighed. "I'm seeing someone. It's new and complicated." Marcus's eyes widened. "You're dating the woman who once told me relationships were an inefficient use of resources. I was wrong about that, clearly." "Is it serious?" Alex thought about Jordan, about the hours they spent talking, about how different her life felt now. "I think it might be, which is terrifying." "Is she good to you?" The question surprised Alex. She'd expected Marcus to ask about logistics, about how this would affect her work schedule. But he was asking about her well-being, like he actually cared about her as a person. "She's very good to me," Alex said quietly. "Better than I probably deserve." "Then don't screw it up by being a workaholic who never makes time for her." It was good advice, but implementing it proved challenging. That first week back from San Francisco, Alex had 3 emergency meetings, a product launch that went sideways, and a major investor threatening to pull funding over concerns about the new Doctors Without Borders initiative she'd announced. "It's not financially sound," the investor, a severe man named Richard, said during a tense video conference. "You're talking about donating millions in equipment and training to areas that will never provide return on investment." "Not everything is about ROI," Alex countered. "This is about social responsibility, about using our success to help people who need it most." "That's a lovely sentiment, but I'm not running a charity. If Chen Medical wants to maintain investor confidence, you need to focus on profitability, not philanthropy." The call ended badly, with Richard essentially giving When Alex returned to Seattle, she immediately called a board meeting. She'd spent the flight back refining her proposal, running numbers, building a business case for what she was calling the Chen Global Health Initiative. The presentation was thorough: projected costs, potential tax benefits, PR value, partnership opportunities with organizations like Doctors Without Borders and the World Health Organization. But more than that, it was passionate. Alex spoke from her heart about what she'd witnessed in Guatemala, about the 15 lives they'd saved, about how Chen Medical could be more than just a profitable company. "This isn't charity," she concluded. "This is our future. Medical technology companies have a responsibility to ensure their innovations reach everyone, not just wealthy hospitals in developed countries. The Chen Global Health Initiative positions us as industry leaders in ethical medicine. It's good business and the right thing to do. The board was skeptical. Questions flew about costs, about whether this would distract from core business, about whether shareholders would support it. But Alex had anticipated every objection. She'd partnered with 3 other medical technology companies who agreed to co-fund the initiative. She'd secured a major grant from a foundation focused on global health. She'd calculated that the positive PR alone would be worth millions in goodwill and brand value. "I'm not asking permission," Alex said finally. "I'm informing you of my decision. Chen Medical Technologies is launching this initiative. If any board member objects strongly enough to resign, I'll accept your resignation and find a replacement who shares this vision." It was a power play, and everyone in the room knew it. Alex had majority control of the company. They couldn't override her without forcing a major confrontation. And given Chen Medica's recent crisis and recovery, no one wanted to rock the boat. "I move to approve the Chen Global Health Initiative," one of the board members said finally. The vote was unanimous. After the meeting, Marcus caught up with Alex in the hallway. "That was intense and impressive. You basically told the board to get on board or get out. They'll thank me in 5 years when we're recognized as the most ethical medical technology company in the industry. Assuming this works, it'll work. I'll make sure it works." Over the next few months, Alex restructured her role at Chen Medical. She brought in a new crew to handle day-to-day operations, freeing her to focus on innovation and the Global Health Initiative. She cut her work hours from 70 a week to 50, still a lot, but manageable. She took actual weekends off, spent more time with Jordan, and generally started living like a person with a life beyond work. The change wasn't always easy. Old habits died hard, and Alex still had moments of panic when she wasn't working constantly. But Jordan was there to remind her that rest was productive, that her value wasn't measured solely by hours worked, that being a whole person made her better at her job, not worse. Jordan moved to Seattle in December, getting a position at UW Medical Center's cardiac surgery department. They found a new apartment together, something that felt like a real home, not just a place to sleep between work shifts. Alex even got a dog, a rescue greyhound named Newton, who forced them to take daily walks and generally made their lives more chaotic and wonderful. "You know what's funny?" Jordan said one evening as they walked Newton through their neighborhood. 6 months ago, you would have said having a dog was an inefficient use of resources. Now you're the one who insists on taking him to the fancy pet store for organic treats. He deserves the best. He's a very good dog. You're a softie. I knew it from the start. Thanksgiving came, and Alex's parents visited. The dinner was awkward at first, her father grilling Jordan about her intentions, her mother making pointed comments about grandchildren, but eventually they warmed up. "She's good for you," her mother said quietly while they were washing dishes. "I haven't seen you this happy since you were a child. She is good for me. She makes me want to be better." "Then keep her. Don't let your work sabotage this." "I won't, Mom, I promise." Christmas was spent in Wisconsin with Jordan's family, a chaotic celebration with siblings and nieces and nephews, and enough noise to make Alex's head spin. But it was also warm and loving, and Jordan's family welcomed her without reservation. "Your family is exhausting," Alex said on the drive back to the airport. "But you love them." "I do. They're wonderful. Your mom asked me 3 separate times if I was treating you well." "What did you tell her?" "That I'm trying my best, and that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Jordan's eyes got suspiciously shiny. "You're going to make me cry in this rental car." "Don't cry. We still have to return it, and I don't want to explain emotional tears to the rental company." They spent New Year's Eve in Seattle, just the 2 of them and Newton, watching the Space Needle fireworks from their apartment balcony. As midnight approached, Jordan pulled Alex close. "This year was insane," Jordan said. "We fell in love, navigated a major crisis, went to Guatemala. I moved across state lines. It was a lot. Best year of my life," Alex said without hesitation. "Mine too. Here's to next year being slightly less chaotic." "I'll try, but I make no promises." They kissed as the fireworks exploded overhead, Newton barking excitedly at the noise, and Alex thought about how much her life had changed in less than a year. A year ago, she'd been alone in her sterile apartment, working through New Year's Eve like it was any other night. Now she had Jordan and Newton, and a life that felt full and meaningful beyond just work. She had love and purpose, and the terrifying, wonderful knowledge that she wasn't alone anymore. "I love you," Alex said as the last firework faded. "I love you too. Now come inside before Newton's barking gets us evicted." Part 11. The Future. The Chen Global Health Initiative launched officially in February, with a major press event and partnerships with hospitals around the world. Alex and Jordan led the first major mission to Kenya in March, a month-long deployment that provided surgical care to over 100 patients and trained local doctors on advanced cardiac techniques. The work was exhausting but fulfilling. They returned to Seattle tired but energized, already planning the next mission. Chen Medical's stock price actually increased after the initiative launched, proving Alex's theory that ethical business was good business. By summer, the initiative was operating in 12 countries. Jordan split her time between UW Medical Center and the international missions, becoming the public face of the program, while Alex handled logistics and funding. They made a good team. Jordan's warmth and passion balanced Alex's strategic thinking and problem solving. "We should write a book about this," Jordan suggested one evening as they reviewed reports from their latest mission, about how companies can do well by doing good, about the business case for ethical medicine. "I hate writing. I'll do the writing, you just have to give me stories and data that I can do." The book became a side project they worked on together. Late nights spent writing and editing, arguments about tone and structure, but ultimately a shared creative endeavor that brought them even closer. It was published the following spring to positive reviews and decent sales, establishing Alex and Jordan as thought leaders in ethical medical technology. Alex continued therapy, slowly unpacking decades of perfectionism and workaholism. She learned to be kinder to herself, to accept that she was flawed and human, and worthy of love regardless of her achievements. It was hard work, but Jordan supported her through every breakthrough and setback. "You know what's changed the most about you?" Jordan asked one evening after Alex had come home from a particularly emotional therapy session. "What?" "You smile now. Like, genuinely smile. When I first met you, you were all Ice Queen professionalism. Now you laugh at stupid jokes and play with Newton, and generally seem happy to be alive." "That's because I am happy. For the first time in my adult life, I'm actually happy." "Good. You deserve to be happy." They got engaged on the anniversary of the day they met. Alex showing up at St. Mary's Hospital with a velvet box and a nervous smile. Jordan crying happy tears in her office before saying yes. The ring was a simple platinum band with a small diamond. Nothing ostentatious, but Jordan loved it. "You know," Jordan said, admiring the ring on her finger, "a year ago, you were convinced you weren't capable of relationships. Now you're proposing marriage. That's quite a transformation. You changed me, made me brave enough to try. You changed yourself. I just gave you a reason to." The wedding was small family, close friends, key members of their respective teams. They got married in the spring, at a botanical garden in Seattle, surrounded by flowers and sunshine, and people they loved. Alex's mother cried through the entire ceremony. Jordan's father gave a toast about how Alex had made his daughter happier than he'd ever seen her. To Alex and Jordan, he concluded, raising his glass, "May your love continue to grow, may your work continue to change lives, and may you always remember to take time for what matters most, each other." The applause was thunderous. Alex looked at Jordan, her wife. She was going to have to get used to that and felt overwhelmed by how much her life had changed. 2 years ago, she'd been alone and convinced she preferred it that way. Now she was married to the most amazing woman she'd ever met, running a company that actually made a difference, and living a life that felt full and meaningful. "Happy?" Jordan asked, squeezing her hand under the table. "Terrified and overwhelmed and happier than I ever imagined possible." "Perfect. That's exactly how you should feel on your wedding day." They honeymooned in New Zealand, 2 weeks of hiking and wine, tasting, and absolutely no talk of work or medicine or anything stressful. Alex learned that she could actually relax when she tried, that not every moment had to be productive, that sometimes the best thing to do was simply exist in a beautiful place with the person you loved. "We should do this more often," Alex said, as they watched the sunset over Queenstown. "Honeymoons, vacations, actual time off where we're not working or planning missions or thinking about the company. Just us, being together. I'm in favor of that. How about twice a year? Real vacations where we completely disconnect." "Deal." They returned to Seattle, refreshed and ready to take on new challenges. Chen Medical continued to grow. The Global Health Initiative expanded to 20 countries, and Jordan was promoted to chief of cardiac surgery at UW Medical Center, the youngest person ever to hold the position. Life was busy but balanced. They worked hard but made time for each other. They pursued their careers but never let them consume their entire lives. They fought occasionally about whose turn it was to walk Newton, about whether to attend yet another medical conference, about work-life balance and communication, but they always worked through it. "You know what I love most about us?" Alex asked one quiet evening as they sat on their balcony, Newton asleep at their feet. "What?" "We make each other better. You made me braver, more open, more willing to live life instead of just working through it. And I hope I've made you better too." Jordan smiled. "You have. You taught me that it's okay to be strategic and thoughtful, instead of just following my heart, that planning and logic have their place alongside passion and intuition. We balance each other." "That's very sappy." "You love it when I'm sappy." "I really do." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the Seattle skyline as the lights began to twinkle on. Alex thought about the journey that had brought her here, from that first emergency call about a device failure, to meeting Jordan at 4 a.m., to falling in love despite all her fears, to building a life together that neither of them had planned but both of them cherished. "I'm glad your cardiac pump failed," Alex said suddenly. Jordan laughed. "That's a terrible thing to be glad about. Not because of what happened to the patient, obviously that was awful, but because it brought me to Portland. It brought me to you. If that device hadn't failed, I never would have met you. I'd still be alone in my sterile apartment, working 18, convinced I was happy. Fate works in mysterious ways. I don't believe in fate. You didn't believe in love either. And look how that worked out." Alex had to concede the point. "Fair enough. Maybe I'm wrong about fate too. Or maybe," Jordan said, leaning against Alex's shoulder, "we make our own fate. You made the choice to investigate personally, instead of sending your team. I made the choice to reach out to you, to push past your walls, to keep trying even when you were difficult. We chose each other, Alex. That's better than fate." "When did you become so philosophical?" "I've always been philosophical. You're just finally paying attention." They stayed on the balcony until late, talking about everything and nothing: future missions they wanted to lead, places they wanted to visit, the family they might build together someday. The future felt wide open and full of possibility, and for the first time in her life, Alex wasn't afraid of it. She had Jordan, she had meaningful work, she had a life that felt rich and full, and most importantly, she had learned that success wasn't measured in quarterly profits or professional achievements, but in the relationships she built, the lives she touched, and the love she allowed herself to give and receive. "Thank you," Alex said quietly as they finally headed inside. "For what?" "For not giving up on me, for seeing past the ice queen exterior to the person underneath, for teaching me how to live instead of just working, for loving me even when I was terrible at being loved." Jordan pulled her into a hug. "You were never terrible at being loved. You just needed to learn how to accept it. And Alex, you were always worth the effort. Every difficult moment, every fight, every time you tried to push me away, you were always worth it." They went to bed that night, wrapped around each other, Newton curled up at their feet, and Alex drifted off to sleep, thinking about how lucky she was, how a device failure had led to the best thing that had ever happened to her, how letting someone in really, truly, in had transformed her life in ways she never could have imagined. The billionaire, doctor who had rejected all women, had finally let herself be, saved it not by perfection, or success, or professional achievement, but by love. And in learning to accept love, she'd finally learned how to truly live. Epilogue. 5 years later, Alex stood backstage at the medical technology conference, adjusting her lapel microphone and trying not to be nervous. After years of public speaking, she should be used to it. But this speech felt different, more personal. "You're going to be great," Jordan said, straightening Alex's tie. "Just speak from your heart." "My heart wants to run away and hide." "Your heart knows better than that." Jordan kissed her cheek. "I'll be in the front row, cheering you on. Just look at me if you get nervous." Alex walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. The ballroom was packed, as 1,000 people, all here for the annual Global Health in Medical Technology Summit, a summit that Chen Medical Technologies now sponsored and hosted. "Good morning," Alex began, her voice steady. "5 years ago, I stood on a stage like this and accepted an award for innovation. I gave a speech that was supposed to be about technical achievements, but turned into something more personal. A confession, really, about how someone had changed my perspective on what success means." She found Jordan in the crowd, sitting in the front row with a proud smile. That someone is now my wife, and in the 5 years since that speech, she's continued to challenge me, to push me to be better, to remind me that innovation without humanity is empty. Together, we've built something I'm truly proud of, not just a successful company, but a force for positive change in the world. Alex clicked to her first slide, showing images from their global health missions. The Chen Global Health Initiative has now operated in 35 countries. We've provided over $10 million in donated equipment, trained thousands of doctors, and directly saved an estimated 5,000 lives. That's what happens when a company decides that profit and purpose aren't mutually exclusive. The presentation continued, covering technical innovations, partnership developments, future plans, but woven throughout was the human element: stories of patients whose lives had changed, doctors who'd gained new skills, communities that now had access to care they'd never had before. I started this company because I was good at engineering and bad at surgery, Alex concluded. I thought I'd find my purpose in building better tools, but I learned that tools are meaningless without the people who use them, and success is hollow without human connection. My wife taught me that. My team embodies it, and all of you, working in medical technology with the goal of improving human health, you are the reason this work matters. The applause was deafening. Alex left the stage to a standing ovation, finding Jordan waiting in the wings. You killed it, Jordan said, pulling her into a hug. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Sure, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. They had lunch with the conference organizers, then the call ended badly, with Richard essentially giving Alex an ultimatum: scale back the charitable initiative or lose his support. She spent the rest of the day in damage control mode, calling other investors, running financial projections, trying to find a way to make both the business case and the moral case work. By the time she remembered to check her phone, she had 5 missed calls from Jordan and a dozen increasingly worried texts. Jordan: hey, just checking in. How's your day? Jordan: okay, getting a little worried. You usually respond by now. Jordan: Alex, are you okay? Did something happen? Jordan: I'm starting to panic. Please, just let me know you're alive. Jordan: calling the hospital to make sure you weren't in an accident. Please respond. Alex immediately called back, guilt washing over her. Jordan answered on the first ring. Oh, thank God, Jordan said, her relief audible. Alex: I was terrified. You always respond to texts, and when you didn't for 6 hours, I thought something terrible had happened. I'm sorry. I got caught up in a work crisis. An investor is threatening to pull funding over the Doctors Without Borders initiative, and I've been dealing with the fallout all day. There was a pause. 6 hours. Alex, you didn't look at your phone for 6 hours. I was in back-to-back meetings. I don't care about your meetings. I care that I spent the last hour convinced you were dead in a ditch somewhere. Do you know how that feels? Alex felt defensive. I'm running a company. There are going to be days when I'm not immediately available. You know that. I know that. What I don't know is how to be in a relationship with someone who disappears for hours without a word. I'm a surgeon, Alex. I understand being busy, but I also understand basic communication. A 30-second text saying, crazy day, we'll call later, would have been enough. You're right. I'm sorry. Jordan's voice softened. I don't want to fight. I worry about you. And when you go radio silent, my imagination goes to dark places. I'll be better about checking my phone, I promise. They talked for another hour, but the conversation felt strained. When they finally hung up, Alex sat at her desk feeling like she'd already failed at this relationship thing. And they were barely 3 weeks in. The pattern repeated itself over the next few weeks. Alex would get caught up in work and forget to check her phone. Jordan would worry and then be hurt when Alex finally responded hours later. They'd have tense conversations about communication and priorities, and Alex would promise to do better. Sometimes she managed it. Often she'd in single quotes. Their first weekend together in Seattle started with an argument. Jordan arrived Friday night as planned, taking an evening flight after a long surgery day. Alex had intended to leave work early to pick her up from the airport, but a manufacturing crisis kept her at the office until 9 p.m. By the time she got to the airport, Jordan had been waiting for over 2 hours. I'm so sorry, Alex said, finding Jordan sitting in the baggage claim area looking exhausted and annoyed. There was an emergency. There's always an emergency. Jordan interrupted. I've been sitting here for 2 hours wondering if you were coming at all. I texted you that I'd be late. You texted me 4 times. each time pushing the arrival estimate back another 30 minutes. At a certain point, it feels like I'm not a priority. They drove to Alex's penthouse apartment in tense silence. Once inside, Jordan dropped her bag and turned to face Alex. We need to talk about this. Really talk. I know, you're right. I was late, and that was inconsiderate. It's not just about being late, it's about a pattern. Alex, in the 3 weeks since San Francisco, you've canceled our video calls twice because of work. You forget to respond to texts for hours. And now I fly all the way to Seattle for our first real weekend together. And you leave me sitting in an airport for 2 hours. I said I'm sorry. There was a legitimate emergency. I'm sure there was. But Alex, there's always going to be a legitimate emergency. You run a medical device company. Emergencies are part of the job. The question is whether I'm going to be part of your life or always secondary to your work. Alex felt her defenses rising. That's not fair. You knew what you were getting into. I told you I work a lot. I told you I'm not good at relationships. You said you understood. Understanding intellectually and living it are two different things. I'm trying here, Alex. I'm trying to be patient and understanding and not make demands. But I need to know that you're trying to, that I matter to you, that we matter to you. Of course, you matter to me. Then act like it. Jordan's voice cracked. I'm not asking you to quit your job or stop caring about your company. I'm asking you to make space for me in your life. Real space, not just the leftover scraps of time after you've given everything to work. Alex felt tears threatening something that almost never happened. I don't know how. I've spent my entire adult life prioritizing work. It's the only thing I'm good at. I don't know how to be good at this and good at that. Jordan's expression softened. She crossed the room and pulled Alex into a hug. I'm not asking you to be good at it immediately. I'm asking you to try, to maybe leave work at a reasonable hour sometimes, to check your phone occasionally, to make me feel like I'm more than an afterthought. Alex clung to her, breathing in her familiar scent. I'm trying. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I am. This is all so new to me. Having someone to consider, someone who worries about me. Someone I have to remember to communicate with. I'm not used to it, I know. And I'm trying to be patient. But Alex, I can't be the only one trying. This has to be a two-way street. They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other in Alex's sterile, barely lived-in apartment. Finally, Jordan pulled back and looked around. This is where you live? She asked, taking in the minimalist space-modern furniture that looked barely used. Almost no personal items. Walls painted in neutral tones. It looks like a hotel. I'm not here much. That's obvious. Alex, where's your personality? Where are the books you love? The photos of people you care about? The things that make this place feel like home? Alex looked around, seeing her apartment through Jordan's eyes. It was sterile, cold, impersonal. I never really thought about it. It's just where I sleep. That's so sad. Jordan walked to the windows, looking out at the Seattle skyline. You have this beautiful space with an incredible view, and you've turned it into a place to exist rather than a place to live. I don't need much. Everyone needs a home, Alex. A place that feels like theirs, that reflects who they are. Who I am is my work. Jordan turned to face her. No, it's not. Your work is what you do. Who you are is so much more than that. You're brilliant and funny and secretly kind. You care deeply about things even though you pretend not to. You have opinions on art and books and the best way to make coffee. You're a whole person, but you've reduced yourself to just your job title. Alex felt exposed in a way that made her want to change the subject. Are we okay about tonight? We're okay. But Alex, we need to figure this out. The communication thing, the work-life balance thing, all of it. Because I really like you, but I can't be in a relationship where I'm always secondary. You're not secondary. Then prove it. Not with words, but with actions. Show me that I matter, that we matter. The rest of the weekend was better. Alex made a conscious effort to be present. She turned off her work phone, ignored her laptop, focused entirely on Jordan. They explored Seattle's Pike Place Market, had dinner at restaurants Alex had never been to despite living in the city for years, spent Sunday morning in bed talking and making love and simply being together. Jordan said Sunday afternoon as they cooked dinner together in Alex's barely used kitchen. This isn't so hard. Being present, being here, it feels foreign, like I'm playing hooky. You're not playing hooky. You're living your life. There's a difference. Jordan stirred the sauce she was making. What does a typical weekend look like for you? Before me, Alex had to think. I usually go into the office Saturday morning, review the week's data, plan for the next week, then maybe work from home the rest of the weekend. Catch up on emails, read research papers. That sounds incredibly depressing. It's productive. It's lonely. Alex, when was the last time you did something just for fun? Just because it brought you joy? Alex couldn't answer. She genuinely couldn't remember the last time she'd done something purely for enjoyment. That's what I thought, Jordan said gently. You've forgotten how to have fun, how to enjoy life. You've become a work machine, and you don't even realize it. My work is important. I'm not saying it's not, but you're important too. Your happiness, your well-being, your life outside of work, that all matters. You can't keep sacrificing everything for a company, no matter how successful it is. They ate dinner on Alex's balcony, watching the sun set over Puget Sound. It was peaceful, comfortable, and Alex found herself thinking that maybe Jordan was right. Maybe she had been living half a life, so focused on professional success that she'd forgotten what it felt like to simply be happy. I want to ask you something, Jordan said as they cleared the dishes, and I want you to really think about your answer, okay? Why did you leave surgery? The real reason, not the official story you tell at conferences. Alex tensed. This was the question she always deflected, the truth she'd never told anyone, but standing in her kitchen with Jordan, watching her with those understanding hazel eyes, she found she wanted to tell the truth. I had a patient die, Alex said quietly, during a routine bypass surgery. Everything was going perfectly, and then, suddenly, it wasn't. A complication I didn't anticipate, didn't prepare for. I froze. Just for a second, but that second mattered. By the time I recovered and made the decision, it was too late. Jordan didn't say anything, just listened. The review board cleared me, Alex continued, said I'd done everything by the book, that the complication was unforeseeable. But I knew the truth. I'd hesitated, and that hesitation cost someone their life. After that, I couldn't step into an operating room without second-guessing every decision, every cut, every stitch, every call I made. I questioned it all, and when you're hesitating in surgery, people die. So you left. So I left, started the company, threw myself into designing equipment instead of using it, convinced myself I was helping more people this way. But the truth is, I ran away. I was too afraid to face my own failure. So I found a different way to contribute that felt safer. Jordan moved closer, taking both of Alex's hands. Alex, you didn't run away. You found a different path. A path that uses your strengths instead of your weaknesses. There's no shame in that, isn't there? I quit. I gave up. You adapted. You found a way to still help people without putting yourself in a situation where your hesitation could hurt someone. That's not weakness, that's self-awareness. You're very generous in your interpretation. I'm honest in my interpretation. Alex, I see you. I see how much you care about your work, how seriously you take every device failure, how personally you take the responsibility of keeping people safe. You didn't stop caring about medicine. You just found a different way to practice it. Alex felt tears spilling over the second time in as many days, which was more than she'd cried in the past decade combined. I don't know who I am without my work. It's been my entire identity for so long. My work is what makes me valuable, what makes me matter. Without it, I'm just nothing. That's not true. You're brilliant and kind and funny. You're someone who donates millions to charity but doesn't want anyone to know. Someone who learns the names of every employee in her company because you think it matters to treat people like people. Someone who flew to Portland in the middle of the night because a patient's life might have been at risk. You're so much more than your job title, Alex. You just can't see it. They held each other in the kitchen, and Alex felt something fundamental shifting inside her. Jordan was right. She'd spent so long defining herself by her work that she'd forgotten. She was a whole person with interests and feelings and value beyond her professional achievements. I don't know how to change, Alex admitted, how to be less obsessed with work, how to make room for other things. We'll figure it out together. Baby steps. Maybe you start by actually using this apartment as a home instead of a hotel. Maybe you take a whole weekend off occasionally. Maybe you let yourself have hobbies and interests and a life outside Chen Medical Technologies. That sounds terrifying. Most good things are. Jordan kissed her softly. But I'll be here, helping you figure it out. If you'll let me. I want to let you. I'm just scared I'll mess it up. You probably will sometimes. We both will. That's what relationships are to people, figuring out how to fit their lives together, making mistakes, learning from them. There's no perfect way to do it. Jordan left Monday morning, and Alex went straight to the office. But something had changed. She looked around at her company, the empire she'd built, the lives she'd saved, the innovations she'd created, and for the first time, she wondered if it was enough, if all this success meant anything, if she was still fundamentally alone and unhappy. Marcus noticed immediately. You're thinking too hard. What's wrong? Am I a workaholic? Marcus blinked. Is this a trick question? I'm serious. Do I work too much? Prioritized the company over everything else? Dr. Chen, you once worked through the flu because you said rest was for people without deadlines. You answer emails at 3 a.m. You haven't taken a vacation in. Has it ever been? So yes, I would say you work too much. Why didn't you say anything? Because you're the boss, and I like my job. Marcus softened his tone. Look, everyone knows you're incredibly dedicated, but dedication sometimes looks a lot like obsession. We worry about you, the leadership team. We see how little you sleep, how rarely you leave this building. It's not sustainable. The woman I'm seeing said something similar. Then, she's smart. Listen to her. Marcus hesitated. Can I ask you something? When was the last time you were genuinely happy? Not satisfied with a successful project or pleased about hitting targets, actually happy. Alex thought about it. Last weekend, with Jordan, just cooking dinner and watching TV and being together. It was ... nice. Simple. Then, you should do more of that. Dr. Chen, Alex, the company will survive if you work slightly fewer hours, but you might not survive if you keep going at this pace. And from what I can tell, this woman makes you happy. Don't sacrifice that for a few extra percentage points of productivity. The conversation haunted Alex for the rest of the week. She found herself leaving work at 7 p.m. instead of 11. She stopped checking emails obsessively on her phone. She even took a Saturday afternoon off to video chat with Jordan while they both cooked dinner together in their respective kitchens. This is nice, Jordan said, laughing as she burned garlic and had to start over. Even though I'm a terrible cook when distracted by your beautiful face, you're not a terrible cook. You're an enthusiastic cook who occasionally gets distracted. That's a much nicer way to put it. They talked while they cooked, about nothing important. Jordan told her about a pediatric patient who'd drawn her a picture. Alex shared a story about a meeting where two engineers had gotten into a heated debate about material specifications that had devolved into arguing about the best Star Trek captain, Kirk or Picard. Jordan asked. Picard, obviously. Kirk was too impulsive. I knew you'd say that. You're a Picard person through and through, all logic and duty and reluctant emotion. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. And yes, I like Picard people. They're predictable and reliable and secretly softies under all that logic. I'm not a softie. You donated $2 million to a children's hospital last year anonymously. Marcus told me. Marcus has a big mouth. Marcus cares about you. We all do. Jordan smiled through the screen. Eat your dinner. I want to see if you actually followed the recipe, or if you improvised. Alex took a bite of her chicken and grimaced. I may have added too much curry powder. How much is too much? I don't know. I stopped measuring after 3 tablespoons. Jordan laughed so hard she nearly dropped her phone. Alex, the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon. In my defense, the print was small. They ate their respective dinners and talked for another 2 hours, until Jordan was yawning and Alex's eyes were getting heavy. It was domestic and normal, and everything Alex had never thought she wanted, and she loved every minute of it. I miss you, Jordan said as they were saying goodnight. I miss you too. When can I see you again? I have a light week coming up. I could fly up Thursday night, leave Sunday morning. That's 4 days. Is that too much? I don't want to intrude on your work. It's perfect. 4 days is perfect. After they hung up, Alex sat in her apartment, which she was slowly making more lived in, adding photos and books and things that made it feel like a home, and realized she was happy, actually, genuinely happy in a way she hadn't been in years, and it terrified her, because happiness meant having something to lose, meant caring about something beyond her control, meant opening herself up to the possibility of pain and disappointment and heartbreak. But as she got ready for bed, thinking about Jordan's laugh and the way she made even cooking dinner feel like an adventure, Alex decided the risk was worth it.